Go. Do what you got to do.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to a Thursday edition of Tint Wizdom. This is a triple Wizdom a week, and today is Wednesday, and I'm joined with Ralph M. Pelt from Flexfilms. Ralph, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for doing this. Thank you for doing it on such short notice. So the reason I especially wanted to get you on here was because of some topics that came up in previous Tint Wisdoms, one last week in particular from Chris Queen. And a gentleman named Andrew in the comments had brought up some questions on film specs. And, so I want to jump into film specs. I really want to understand real world application, what a tinter would need to know, what they don't really need to know, and so on. And before we jump into that, let's kind of start off with who you are, how you got started in the window film industry. Where did you begin?
I can make this pretty short, sweet, and simple, but thanks for asking. I'm 50 years old, and I started actually messing with film when I was 17. I think a lot of guys in this group started young, And I think my story is kind of like Rick's. I was detailing cars. I was trying to do things on my own, very independent, and saw a guy tinting windows. And I saw two things. I thought, man, this guy made a lot of money real quick. I was busting my tail all day making the $35 back in the 80s. And he came in and made like 80 to 90 bucks in like about an hour, putting strips on the back windows, and he was out. Another thing that's really psychological to me is that I never knew when to stop detailing a car, because where do you quit?
Right.
You want to give the customer the best service you can, but when do you stop cleaning, because it's always something to clean. I like this guy, how he came in, he put the tint on the glass, and then when he was done, he was done. I thought, wow, this is solving two problems.
It has an end.
He's getting money, and when he's done, he's done. So I like this. So this guy, basically shared some information with me because I'm in a college town. He was from the college, he was doing window tinting in the stereo shops, and he shared some information with me as he moved out because he graduated, went back to Athens, Georgia. I said, his name was Scott Campbell. I said, Scott, man, can you please show me, where do you buy this film? Give me the phone number, and I've been watching you. Can you give me a few more pointers? I'd like to, take over the reins, and he did. He didn't. He'll never realize how much he helped me out. Because I was just looking for him the other day. I've been looking for him around every Christmas because I've always wanted to give back to him and tell him thank you and maybe share some of my successes. And I probably talk to him more about my failures, to be honest with you, because those are more exciting. Got some numbers, some in the background here. Okay, and so, but I just discovered he had passed away. I mean, I'll never get that chance, and I found him. His obituary, and it just was very devastational to me. I got some noise in the background. I'm sorry about that.
No worries.
I'm in an office here, so I'm learning about all the noises you can have. So anyway, I've been trying to reach out to his family and stuff like that, and I'm still working on that. I've got some contacts going because I want to find out more about him, and I don't want to get too on Scott, but I really did appreciate that gentleman, and he changed my life, and hopefully. People like us, when we share information, we can change other people's lives. That's why I do this. If it wasn't for that gentleman, where would I be? So I started tinting windows throughout I could give you the long, drawn out story, but I started tinting windows and I progressively got better at it. I went through college and then I got out on my own, and then I started, doing it full time. And, I got out of the tent business around 2000, and I got into developing, and I started fixing up houses and flipping them, and that led into new construction. That led into me buying land. I started doing land acquisition where I would do I'd annex properties into the city that were kind of in the 5 to 10 acre tracts, and I would get them hooked up with sewer, water. I would have them rezoned to high density. I do active adult, apartments. I did subdivisions, and then I would usually start to develop the property. I'd cut the trees. I'd do the grading, the water, storm, sewer, curb, gutter, infrastructure. Then boom, I was in this new business. I quit looking at cars going down the road with 10 on them, and then I lost everything after I made a bunch of money. And then after I lost everything, I got back into tinting. The good old roots. It's in my blood. And life was different after that because I'd gotten a taste of some really good money, and I didn't want to go back into the tent business the same ways and the same things I was doing. So I started looking at the technologies out there. And this is when nobody knew, because it didn't exist. I discovered ceramic.
Okay.
I'll leave it at that.
How many years ago?
This was probably around 2008.
Okay.
Give or take. Maybe,
so housing crash and ceramic technologies kind of cross paths.
It did. It's exactly the way you phrased it. It crossed paths. I wasn't looking for it. It came in. I could give you a long story about it, but I'm not going to do that. Let's just say a rep came in representing a company with a spectrally selective flat glass film. Showed me what it would do. And I wasn't very excited or interested because this company was one I didn't care to do business with. They were kind of expensive, and I wasn't really looking for that type of product. But nonetheless, he brought the heat box. He put his hand in front of it, and it got my attention because I was like, "Wow, man, this is awesome." I said, "But wait a minute, I got a lot of films." And I was prideful. I've been using name brand films, high performance films. I said, "I got plenty of films back here that I could put on that glass slide, and I know they'll do the same thing." Yes, we all know window film blocks out heat. He said, "Well, go give it your best shot." So I put some films on some glass, and I put my hand in front of them, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, what's happening here? Why aren't these films working?" And then this gentleman began to explain to me, this is IR film. This is not nobody has this. And this film has the ability to slow down heat. And he tried to explain it to me, but he didn't even know how, So we didn't know what this mystery product was. We just knew that it worked. And I couldn't afford it from the company that was offering it. So I started researching, like, where can I find this? I got to have it, but I can't pay $2,000 a roll, and try to, how am I going to make a living with this? It doesn't make any sense. So I found out where some of the origins of this stuff was. Long story there. But, it's an Asian technology, Korea, Japan. And now we're seeing it come out of China. It's been around, but the real grassroots place I found was Korea. And so I got hooked in with some Korean technology through another gentleman I knew and met, and he began to supply me with this product. Now, what was interesting about this product is it had this ability to perform on this heat box, and so at the counter with the customer, it was like taking candy from a baby. I could knock down all the competition because see, all the competition was typical. They're installers, okay, not dogging them out. I was one too, and but if you put your mind in the wrong place, which I think they were doing, because they were really worried about how the film would shrink. They were worried about how good the hard coat was, or how good the glue was, and that's how they would buy their film. I was putting the customer's needs in front. Because I figured out if I can win at the counter, I've got to do it by putting their needs before mine. Now, this film was one ply. This film I didn't know at the time, but it was an extruded dyed layer. It had the ceramic coating, and it was just hard to work with. A 1 mil film didn't shrink like crap. The glue was like it'd peel off the glass, but I persevered. And I felt like at the time, I still am, I'm a top shelf tinter. I'm going to win. I get this stuff on the glass, and I'll make it not have bubbles, and I'll make it look as good as any guy that's got this dyed film. And as long as the customer is happy with the results, because they're looking for performance, I was winning. Not only how was I winning though? Because instead of trying to get the regular price, I was actually able to say, I have the regular film, and here is the regular price, and everybody around me is going to have the same product. But if you want more, if you're a value shopper and not just a price shopper, I got something that might interest you. Boom, take the heat box out, show them. And, a lot of times people are like, I want that. Well, it's going to cost more money, but,
Right.
Nobody else has it. I'd like to help you with it. And it changed my life. So I started from 17, got the guy that told me what number to call. And by the way, that was a Solar Guard number he gave me. Just thought I'd tell you all that. And started buying the tools, the films, just learning how to put it on under the oak tree. And then, it progressed to where I am now, actually selling this stuff, because I was so successful selling it in my tent shop for years and years, and was doubling and tripling the profits that I could make before really anybody knew what it was. I thought, I think I could sell this. I'm thinking I could sell this to other people and change their lives like it changed mine. And that's where I came from, my heart, because I've already done it. It worked. It wasn't like a theory anymore. This was field results I want to share with you, and this is how I did it. And now here's where I'm at. But it's been a bumpy road. It's been a real bumpy road, because Go ahead. Go ahead.
How, what year or when did you make that transition from Tint Shop to Tint Supplier?
That was probably around, it's a gray area, but I'm going to say between 2010 and 2011.
Okay.
Because, you know, me and a partner decided to start a tent business in Lilburn, Georgia. And the reason we decided to start a tent business, Eric, you might appreciate this with your knowledge of social media, because I was starving to understand the social media, Facebook. I was going to seminars. Now, I'm a window tinter, and I've already been successful at the, let's just call it the real estate business, to being a developer, but I've lost everything. But, so I'm a 40-year-old man almost, and I've got a lot of experience under my belt. Don't know everything, but I had a lot of knowledge I didn't have when I was 20. And I knew the internet was the future. I didn't know how it was going to be my future, but, I saw value in it because I saw a way to, it could level the playing field and I could reach a bunch of people. Well, I started looking around on the internet and seeing who would pop up. And the company kept popping up called Glass Tiger. And, and everything I did on Google, man, this was the number one. And it was everywhere. And this is back before Google did a lot of updates and stuff, and it was very Wild West back then, and it was real easy to do SEO. And this gentleman figured it out. He had some friends and a brother, and they had it figured out. So I just said, I got to call whoever this Glass Tiger. I got to find out who these people are. They got a nice website. I can't do anything on the internet without coming across these people. So I picked the phone up and called the gentleman that was behind it. His name was Steve, and we hit it off. And he told me he wasn't even tinting windows. He just had the website up. He was just trying to see if he could continue SEO to see how often he could make his phone ring. And he was subbing the work out. Mm-hmm. I said, well, how much are you getting the phone ring? Because you're everywhere. Mm-hmm. He says, Ralph, I think I had about 60 calls. I said, you mean to tell me you're sitting over there in Atlanta? You just had 60 calls a day and everybody wants their windows tinted. I said, I think I can work with that. I'm going to come up there and meet you. I drove my car up there and met him, and I sat in his living room, and I sat there and listened to the phone ring about 60, 40, 30, it just depends on what day it was, every day. And people wanted to get their windows tinted. And I said, can I cut in on some of this? Can I be the guy you sub it to? And, maybe you and I could work together somehow? Absolutely. I'm looking for a guy like you. Do you know how to tint windows? I said, well, Dad, I do. So, it started from there, man. And, I didn't know how to I didn't know how to process all this because, 60 calls a day coming in, I need to go up. How am I going to, let me answer the phone. You
needed Tint Wiz back then.
My God, I needed Tint Wiz. You know what? I will say this. Here's what I did though, before Tint Wiz. I'm not saying before, but
before, how did you handle it?
I got it. I was like, I don't have a shop up here where I established. I'm just going to do it mobile. I'm going to answer the phone. I'm going to get these people, to want to do this, and I'm going to figure out a way to do it mobile right now. You got to understand something. I'd lost everything. Mm-hmm. I was trying to regroup. I had some advantages. I did have a home, that I had to pay for. And I had a little bit of cash, and I didn't see an urgency of like, I just got to go out and do something stupid. I wanted to do something big, so I was very methodical, and I said, I just want to go up here. I'm a tinter at heart. That's what I do. I'm going to get my car, and I'm just going to go up here and try to figure this out. I'm going to answer the phone first, and I'm going to see who's on the other end. Mm-hmm. I'm going to start telling them that, we've got some really good film, and I want to come to your home and try to put it on your car, because I'm good at it. And it grew from there. We got a location. We decided we need a static location, and we need to build from there. And we did. And that's when we got back in, that's when the ceramic thing really blossomed, because my partner taught me things I didn't realize. Because have you ever seen that movie Shallow Hal?
I do, but I don't really recall, but I definitely saw it.
Well, the plot was pretty simple. He was a pretty shallow guy, and he got changed. I'll just say it like that. And he started looking at women that were typically ugly and not attractive as the most beautiful women's creatures on earth. And, where other people wouldn't find them attractive, he he saw them to be attractive. Anyway, I was very shallow, because I thought that I was doing something big, because I had ceramic figured out. I had the heat box. I had the slides, and I was like, I'll bet you that I can bat 1,000. And my partner was like, what are you talking about? I said, I sell ceramic to everybody. It's just no way. I said, well, I can prove it. And so I'm starting to show him what my secret is. And I'm showing him like dyed film for 180. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, maybe it was like 175. And then I'm showing him ceramic and it's killing it. You know, the heat's difference is crazy different. And I'm saying, if you want this, it's only $35 more. He's like, no wonder you're selling everybody. You're only selling it for $35.
Right.
I said, well, nobody's going to pay more than that. He says, you're crazy. People will pay $100 more for that. I said, no. You don't understand what you're talking about. See, I was from a small town. I'm a college town, but 26,000 people. There's a lot of competition. The demographics were not very favorable. The average per capita income was kind of low. The average level of education. The population density. Things were not in my favor in Carrollton, Georgia. But going over there to Lilburn, it all changes. All that demographic changes, mainly population, and there's a lot more money in that area. And when you figure out how to connect with that money, the people that would want that product will pay you more than $35 a car.
Sure.
And I got hurt. I had a herniated disc. I had to have an emergency surgery, and I was very stubborn, and I wouldn't let him do the sales. I was taking it over, which I shouldn't have. And he took over the sales because I was incapacitated. I'm having surgery. I can't do anything with layup. And he says, Ralph, I'm going to try to experiment a little bit. I'm going to try to ask for some more money. I'm like, man, just don't lose the sales, man, please, And he says, no, I promise, I got this. So the next couple of days, he called me and says, hey, man, I tried it. I said, well, what happened? What happened? He says, well, I started asking $50, not 35, 50. I said, are you kidding? $50? He said, well, we did 7 cars, and everybody said yes. I said, really? $50? And they said, yeah. He says, yeah, but don't get too excited. I think tomorrow I'm gonna try 75. I said, come on, man, come on. Well, anyway, the story can go on and on, but you know what?
Yeah.
He got up to $100 and he still had 9 or almost 10 out of 10 people say yes. Mm-hmm. And he just kept proving it to me. And it got to where, here's what I'm going to do, man. Instead of 180, I'm just going to ask for I think he said 320 or 350, something like that. Mm-hmm. Let's just say 325, something like that. He says, I'm just going to ask 325. So for 180 plus 100 is 280. I'm just going 325. Screw $100, man. And you know what? Still 9 out of 10 people said, okay. Mm-hmm. I said, okay. You proved it to me. The markets are different. You're getting more money for it. We're attracting that type of customer. I said, this is a breakthrough, man. This is awesome. We could never go back to dyed film. Like, why would we want to do a car for 180 now? We don't have time, So anyway, I don't want to keep dwelling on that subject, but
that's a thorough history and a good story.
Let me tie this whole thing together with this last, Flexfilm. Okay. So out of that tent shop, we decided to distribute this product. It was like, hey, let's take this show on the road. Let's try to educate tinters. Let's let them know about this product. It's a little tricky to sell. We know it's in its infancy. We know we're going to be going down a little bit of a bumpy road. We know these guys what they like, but this is going to change their life. So we figured out really fast that not every window tinter is going to warm up to this product. Not every window tinter is going to understand this product. We actually learned that we're really kind of looking for these entrepreneur-minded guys. Remember we talked, Erik and I had some conversations on the phone about employees and entrepreneurs and independent contractors, just different types of people and the way they like to do their business. And every one of them are nobody's better than the other. Everybody has a different way or mindset, And we figured out we were really looking for the shrewd entrepreneur type, business owner guys, because they understood the concept of like putting the customer's needs first and worrying about the shrinking later. We could convince them they could change a few things about the install and get it on the glass and make it look good. And, we did real well selling to these kinds of tent shops, But that's where Flexfilm started, and it started out of the tent shop, and we put a business proposal together. We got some funding. I'll leave it at that. If anybody wants to ask me all the details about all that, I'll be glad to tell them. But, we had no clue, man. We got racks, we got computers and desks, and started trying to figure it out.
So,
you okay?
Yeah. Speaking of questions, everything's perfect. Speaking of questions, I'm going to pull up the comments, and just in case there are any questions. So, if you're watching this live, if you can share it, sharing it would help get more people in here, and we can make sure that everybody who has questions for Ralph can get those questions out today live, because we don't typically do a live on Wednesday. So there may be some fellow tinters out there that don't know we're live. So sharing this video will absolutely help that. So what you just said last, your experience with not thinking that you could necessarily upsell to $50 and then ceramic be $100 and so on, really that comes from your previous experience and your perception, right? And somebody else's experience and perception was able to show you differently. And now you'd never go back to thinking it's not worth the upsell. Of course it is. And I feel like that should resonate with people who may be in a town where they feel like, oh, but my market's different. This is different. They don't understand. And really what it takes is sometimes trying it and seeing that it does work. You have to put the pieces in play. You have to try. You have to be consistent. You have to improve your skills, but you have to try it to know that it can work.
I like to speak in analogies. I like to take real world facts that you live in every day and apply them to what we're trying to figure out. And it all starts to make sense. The answers are all around us. Right. And so I have an analogy that I like to present to everybody that will put everything in perspective. And I always like to go to my hometown of Carrollton, Georgia. I like to go to North Park Street, and I like to point out there's everybody there that wants personal transportation will have to own a car if they want that personal transportation. But not everybody can buy the same car. Different job situations, different credit situations, different payments. There's a car lot that's on North Park Street that's called Extreme Auto Sales. A gentleman by the name of Mark Clayton owns it. I know him. And there's a dealership across the street, Mike Bell Chevrolet. Now, they're both selling cars. We can sit in the Jack's parking lot, and order a hamburger and sit there and watch this activity. But what's interesting is, you get caught up in the fact that they're both selling cars. Just like if there's two tint shops across the street from each other, you get caught up in the fact that they're both tinting windows. Okay, but what are they doing? The used car dealership attracts, at this particular dealership, Extreme Auto Sales, they advertise buy here, pay here. If you go in there with little or no credit, you have about $500 to $1,000, you're going to walk out with a car that day. It'll be a high mileage trade-in, and you'll probably have to make your payments at that lot every month. And maybe if you don't, I think they cut it off or something. But you know what? That's interesting. There's a dealership across the street that sells brand new Chevrolets, and they sell cars too. But they have a customer base that goes in with a better credit situation, maybe not money to put down, but they're going to buy a new car. And they're going to probably pay more money for it, typically because of the value situation. And they're buying cars also. But you know what? If you think about it, these two customers aren't really getting mixed up. The guys that are buying new cars aren't over across the street at the buy here, pay here, and vice versa. Right. I even gave an example, and I'm going to tie this to ceramic window film. What if I went to the Corvette dealership? I know Mike Bell. I say, Mike, I'm going to take this Corvette, man, and see if I can't get these boys across the street, try to sell it for us. I know these guys, they're sharp, and we're going to put it over there in the showroom. Well, I'm not a mind reader, okay, but we can come back 2 weeks later and I can ask these guys, did you guys have any luck selling this car? I know what they're going to say. Y'all know what they're going to say, man. No, we ain't sold this car yet, man. Well, why do you think you hadn't sold the car? I can tell you what they're going to say. No crystal ball, man. I'm not a mind reader. They're going to say, ain't nobody over here got no dang money. Well, this is common sense, because the market over there is looking for this high mileage trade-in. They've got $500 and that's all they've got to spend. They've got to, they're not looking for a brand new Corvette. But if I said, well, guys, think about that for a second. You're telling me that you couldn't sell it because nobody has any money. I bet you if I gave you a lie detector test, I bet you every one of them would pass it. They really believe that because it's true. But you know what? I got a problem with that, gentlemen. There's a Mike Bell Chevrolet across the street. I know they sold 4 Corvettes last week. What's the problem? Why are they selling them and you're not? Here's how I'm going to tie it together. If you're going to be a great window tinter and you know how to put this stuff on, and you go out and buy a really nice dyed film as name brand, lifetime warranty, and you do good work, and somebody, said, man, you're a great tinter. I'm going to go tell 5 of my friends, this is the best $150 tint job I've ever seen. You're going to get 5 more people in there just like you. So what if I come over there and introduce ceramic to you after you spent several years doing this and building this model, and then you try to present them with ceramic film, tell them it's $350. Guess what? I'm going to say, have you had any luck selling it? No, I haven't. Why haven't you sold it? Ain't nobody got no money. Well, that's what happens. Yep. These guys, now if there's a guy in town that opens this door and says, I'm advertising $99 tent jobs. I love to watch what happens next, because this guy's calling everybody out. All the dyed film guys are going to get in an uproar. The guy that's real quiet that doesn't care is the ceramic guy over here in the corner charging $300 to $600 a car. He's like, I don't have that, man. I'm trying to weed those guys out.
You could raise the price a little bit.
What's that?
They could even raise the price a little bit and separate them further from the.
I still don't have time for that. This is the dynamic that's happening in our industry that I found to be very interesting. And everybody's out there that there's a lot of places you can buy film, and basically, a lot of times it has a lot to do with your mindset. How are you thinking? Are you thinking I'm going to try to do more this week to make money, or are you going to try to get the price per car up to make more money? Because there's a big difference. Most of the guys that have the most money in their bank accounts usually do it by increasing the tickets, not increasing the volume, because they don't realize to increase the volume, you increase the workload. You got to hire another employee, you got to get another plotter, you got to get a bigger building. It all just drowns itself out at the end of the day. Anyway, I didn't mean to get too far off on a topic, but
that's good information.
We can go a lot of different directions. We brought up specs earlier. That's another topic. Is anybody asking any questions or anything?
Let me check through the comments. First of all, thanks for everybody for joining. We have about 65 people watching live now, and let me see if there's any questions in here. No questions yet, but hello to everybody in the comments. And, why don't we transition to topic of the day? There are no specific topics. Any questions, absolutely anything, throw them in the comments. But the topic that I wanted to make sure we discussed was heat boxes, which I know you discussed in a video you posted yesterday and the day before. And so I'd like to go over heat boxes for anybody who might not have seen that video, and also just jump into real world specs. What does a tinter really need to know? You brought up a good point. Sometimes you can think of things from a different perspective. Like you may think of films from an easy to shrink, or you may be used to using certain specs to your advantage, or you're just completely confused by them. Without digging too deep, what's the real world stuff? What's the most valuable things to know, and how should they apply them?
There's a lot of I've simplified a lot of things. I could tackle this question a million different ways, but when it comes to actual window film, you definitely want something, if you're trying to think about the customers, something that performs really well. And that's been real confusing for guys. They don't understand how to evaluate performance. And that's why I think that this conversation will eventually lead to specs, because there's no real standard we go by in automotive side of our business. It's a wild west out there, and there's a lot of reporting going on, and nobody really can go by that. Nobody's really out there being dishonest. It's just nobody has anything to go by, so they have to come up with something.
What that means is, for what you're saying, if I understand correctly, for automotive, there's no standard way of testing. So each individual manufacturer can do their own testing, their own way, measuring their own spectrums, and then publish those numbers. Whereas with flat glass, there is a standard way to test films. Is that about right?
Yeah, let me just, without going into nerd level or crazy technical stuff, it's kind of real simple. When the government gets involved in an industry like our industry, say that they typically are involved, they're involved in our flat glass side, because there's some taxes, tax credits, rebates,
right,
incentives to go green. Okay, the government's involved. Okay, they're gonna hey, we're gonna throw money at your credits, but we're gonna regulate how we do that. And
sure,
one of the things we're gonna do is we're gonna maybe do something with this window film, but we got to have it tested. We got to know what its performance is, and it's got to be approved by us. NFRC is also doing this with windows, double pane glass. You see their stickers everywhere, and they're involved with that type of stuff. Okay, so there's a standard now. That means that if you're selling flat glass and you take it to the NFRC, they're going to evaluate it. They're going to give you all those specs that nobody understands, the transmission data. They're going to come up with those U values and total solar energy rejections and shading coefficients, and try to figure out how it also manages heat, as well as how it stops the energy from passing through. And we're supposed to understand where the value is on that product based on its data. But here's the don't get caught up in all that. That's it's not garbage. It's just, let's don't make the video boring now. It's a standard. it's like if you take your film there and your Solar Guard or your Sun Guard or your Flexfilm or your this or that, it's like we can rest assured that everybody's using the same methodology to come up with this data. Mm-hmm. So we could compare one film to another to see where they fare.
Right.
We don't have that in the automotive industry. Nobody's really made a big voice about that. And so I'm not picking on 3M. They're large, but I can use their name because they would appreciate the way I use their name. They have tried to give their customers a service, and I respect their opinion and what they're doing. They said, we're going to measure our film on an angle, and because when you put it on a side window, it's at an angle to the sun. It's not like it's on the back window. But anyway, a lot of times window films are metered head on. And so they want to be more representative of what the film does when it's on the car, right, to try their best to communicate to the customer, here's the value of our product, what it does. Well, if they use that standard, they're only doing it to benefit the customer, and they mean well from it. They're not bad people. They're not trying to lie. They're not trying to deceive. They are trying to sell their film like everybody else. You can't bash them for that. So if I test my film with an $80,000 solar spectrometer, am I going to put my film on an angle, or am I going to, use a $100 EDTM meter? Am I going to use a $1,000 beam splitter? I have choices, how I can test mine to try to report the same data, to try to convey to the customer what the performance is. But if there's no standard, I'm doing it this way, they're doing it that way. So how can you really go by anything and know how one film compares to another when the standard is like a moving target?
Having no standard leads to, ways to bend the line. And then once people are bending the line, then it can go in any direction, yeah?
Well, I'm not, let's smile about this, but there are people out there bending that line. And
it's the nature of the beast when you don't have a standard. That's why there should be a standard.
Well, so here, think about it. Let's keep it real, okay? I've got a new product, okay? This year we're coming out swinging. We've got this is my plug here. We've got the user friendliness down. We've never had that like we want it. This is the first year in 10 years I've actually seen this product, and then of course, we got the performance. We've never had a problem with performance. Enough of that. I got to come up with a way to report what my film does. I got to put it on my website. I got to put it in my brochures, and so, but. Guys, I have no standard to go by. So how do I do this? And how do I be fair? How do I be honest? How do I do this in a way to be competitive? How do I do this in a way to maintain my credibility, so that you can continue to trust the brand? I'll tell you how I'm going to do it. I'm not saying I'm right, I'm wrong. Please comment if you got a better idea. But I'm going to use the $100,000+ beam splitter solar spectrometer that's offered by the manufacturer that I have access to. And then I'm going to take that data, which is the transmission data, okay? Then I'm going to take these little, these little $100 meters that we all as window tinters have access to, and I'm going to meter on that. I'm going to see the relationship between the two. I think it's going to be close. Different meters might have different variations, but I want to be in the same ballpark with that data, because it's simple transmission data. What's the visible light transmission? I want the photopic number. I want the good number. I don't want a Chinese meter to dictate what that says. I want to pay more attention to the the $100,000 solar spectrometer. There's other transmission numbers that I think that'll benefit me by going with a more expensive meter and making sure they're in line with the meters that we show our customers. Then I want to kind of look at my competition, especially on the numbers that sort of, get really hairy when we're trying to figure out how the window film manages heat, because those are really using some variables that we don't know where they came from. And there's a lot of people out there reporting total solar energy rejection and solar heat gain coefficient. Those two always have to be opposite of each other. And let's just put it to you this way. If I look at somebody I feel like is a competitor, and they have a number they're reporting for their total solar energy rejection, and I'm looking at what my company says it is, and it looks like they're being aggressive, and they're using some methodology that's a little more aggressive than ours, and it looks like in marketing theirs is a little better than ours on the numbers. Mm-hmm. But I put mine in front of a heat box beside theirs, and I can beat theirs. Mm-hmm. Should I go 1 point higher than theirs?
No, I wouldn't. But you could do anything. Everybody does everything, but I wouldn't.
No, I appreciate your answer, but I think there's no right answer. Okay,
yeah, you're right.
There's good answers.
Right.
But I don't know. I'm wrestling with that right now. I'm wrestling with that because, if somebody said, well, you just went 1 point higher than theirs because, why? Because I want people to know and get their attention that mine was better because, and I want to be credible because I can say, well, if you don't believe me that mine's at that range, then go find out how they did theirs. Well, just put your hand in front of it and put yours beside mine. And mine should win because that's what the numbers say. If I can, I don't know.
For somebody to pick your film over a different film, they have to know about the film. And if we're talking about specs, they have to know about the specs. So I guess my angle on it is honesty is always like the best policy. So if you go with what the real numbers are, you're not going to win them when they're searching specs. You're going to win them when they hear that message that that's what your company stands for and your specs actually are your specs and outperform the other films with maybe fake specs. But that's just my thoughts. I'm curious what everybody's thoughts are. I just think going straight arrow, honest, cut down the line is better than one-upping.
There's no such thing as a real number. That's the problem. You see, it's more realistic.
The number that Tinters can relate to best. So the numbers that Tinters are going to relate to best are the ones that they can verify with the machines they have access to and in real world scenarios. And this is only my opinion. I'm just saying. So like, I feel like there's room for that to where a Tinter can know, hey, I can trust those specs. I know how to teach those things. I know how to demo it, and it really does outperform it. And who cares what the number is on the piece of paper? Right?
Yeah. Well. See, you got two sets of numbers. You got one number that represents the protection of the film, and that's just energy that comes from the sun, and literally how much of it gets through to the other side of the glass. Those are the numbers that are really difficult to fudge. I mean, because if you do fudge those, and you take a regular $100 meter, you're going to see the fudge factor there, and you're going to totally lose credibility fast among everybody that's trying to buy the film.
It's a good marketing campaign, the fudge factor.
Yeah, but it's really easier to be aggressive and more fudge how heat is slowed down after it's created from energy being absorbed and how it radiates, because that's how are we going to calculate that, or what variables are we going to use to plug in to get that number? Like what, we talked about thermodynamics and thermal equilibrium. We talked about wind speeds. We talked about temperatures. Is the car going down the road fast? Is it sitting in the parking lot? I could say anything I want. Hey, I got this number to be this because here's how I figured it, and you can get it too. But, whatever I had to do to get my number higher than theirs, was it honest? Was it dishonest? As long as you can put your hand in front of it and it feels better than the guys that's competing against you, I think you maintain your credibility as long as you're within the realm of realistic. It's a tricky number. It's not what is realistic. How did you figure it? There's no standard. I don't have anything to go by. I just had to come up with something.
Hey, it's a good thing to know about that I wasn't aware of before this conversation. So
here's the good news. Here's the good news, Eric. We don't go by numbers anymore. Let's don't go by numbers. Let's just go by your hand. If you want to know how well the film slows down heat, get your heat box out, get your glass slide, put it on there, and stick your hand in front of it. And if you want to see if it's better than the other one you're shopping for, and you don't want to just strictly go by the numbers, get a piece of it, put it on a piece of glass, and put your hand in front of it. Put them side by side. Put a heat sheet in front of them, put them together, and see which one, turns the heat sheet color.
So what do you say to those who feel like a heat box isn't an accurate demonstration?
Yeah, I had a way to make a long video about this. Let's just summarize some points. First of all, you have to define what the heat box is doing. And the definition there is all it's doing is showing us how well it slows down heat. And then you got to define, let's agree what it doesn't do. And you got to agree that it's not going to give us a visible light transmission reading. We're not going to know the visible light transmission from the box. Right. We're not going to know UV, nor are we going to know the IR, whether it's broad spectrum, narrow band. Just not going to give us a number. So all it does is show us how well it slows down heat. That's all it does. So people start wanting to open cans of worms up, well, it's not a representation because it doesn't, represent the entire spectrum. It's just an IR bulb. Well, I'd have to argue with that because it does represent. There is more going on. It's a heat bulb, and there's more energy coming from it than just IR. Because if IR is invisible to us, and so is UV. But if you take that box in a room that's completely dark and you turn it on, can you see? If you can, there's light coming out of it too. So I've just dispelled the rumor that it's just strictly IR. So you can't argue that.
Right.
But who cares? Who cares what the distribution of energy is? It doesn't matter. It's what's coming out of that.
So
that bulb's heat.
Right.
It's heat. And I can put a thermometer. If you don't believe that, you can put a thermometer in front of it and watch it go up. If it goes up, then there's heat there.
So from the perspective that heat box is there to demonstrate how the film slows down heat. If you're comparing it to clear glass, you're seeing, okay, it slows down heat. If you're comparing it to a dyed film, you're seeing how a ceramic slows down heat more than a dyed film. If you're using the heat box and you're saying this is what the sun is like and this is what you're going to feel inside your car, then you are being deceiving. But I don't think anybody does that.
Yeah, that's a good point, man. See, it's how you present the data to the customer from the heat box, because they're going to put their hand in front of it and it's going to feel good because it's going to block out or slow down heat. But if you tell them that, hey, man, when you put this film in your car and you can go to Walmart this afternoon on this 100-degree day and you can get out, after an hour of shopping, get back in the car and it's going to be cool. And you've just misled the customer. This film doesn't magically stop heat.
Right.
Just like I sold you a Yeti cooler, you can go get the drinks right now. We'll put the beer in it right now, and I tell you, by the time you get off work, they're going to be cold. Ice in it. Got to put ice in it, man.
Yeah.
Okay. Now let's go back to the car. We can slow heat down because energy comes from the sun. That is absorbed into the film with the glass, and then that turns into heat. Then that heat has to radiate somewhere. So if I got this coating in the film that's slowing that transfer of heat down because it's a non-conductive coating, it doesn't allow conductivity. It doesn't let the heat conduct through it, so it slows it down so that it gives my air conditioner a chance to recuperate. The Yeti cooler, same thing. It slows the energy absorption to the cooler. Then it turns into heat. Then it has to radiate inside to heat the drinks. But if I got ice in there, I can keep the ice from melting better than I can with the Igloo because it's got thinner walls. And the Igloo's got thicker walls. It's the same principle.
Right.
We can. It's chance to have. So if you convey the message to the customer correctly, you're not being misleading. That's what we're all trying to do, is be honest. And you don't want the customer thinking that they can put this magic ceramic film on their car and just throw their air conditioner out. That's not true. It's an assistant.
So I think in summary, the heat box can't be misleading. Only you can be misleading with the heat box.
Correct.
But the heat box on its own isn't misleading, right?
Yes, and through education, we can help window film installers not be misleading. And I think a lot of them don't mean to be misleading, but they have a tendency to be misleading because they're not really well informed. I don't know if I want to bring another topic up, but I keep hearing this heat versus IR heat. You ever hear that?
Yes.
IR stands for infrared radiation, and IR comes from the sun. There's almost half of it. And people know that part of the energy that comes from the sun is invisible to us. We cannot see it, but it is very damaging and it contributes to heat. But in the form of energy, it's not heat. It has to absorb into an object, and then there's a process that it goes through to turn into heat, which is another form of energy that's created from friction and on a molecular level, because energy vibrates molecules, and then that heat is something different, that has to move and radiate, which can be measured with a thermometer, in degrees or Celsius. You can't measure IR with the thermometer because it's not yet heat. Anyway, there's a lot of people trying to distinguish IR heat. I think they say IR heat because they want to throw that 96% IR heat rejection, and they want to just call it IR heat and sort of mislead the customer into thinking this film's going to block out 96% of this stuff that we call heat, which is really terrible because the film blocks out 96% of the IR energy. You see what I'm saying, from getting through the glass, but then what is not blocked typically is absorbed, and then that has to do its dance to turn into heat. And then we have a coating that's separate, that's actually slowing down that process of heat transfer. It's more complicated, but nobody understands all that.
And the heat, as it's being absorbed, and then we'll jump into the comments, but a key thing here is wind, because the heat's it's being slowed down from being absorbed into a car or into a window, but it has to be dispelled some way, or else eventually there's tons of heat in there, right? And that's why it's going to get hot regardless, unless there's a moving vehicle, essentially.
It's been mentioned a few times that one of the ways to, demonstrate this phenomenon about, heat, is to put two cars beside each other, put one with ceramic film and one without ceramic film, and then just put a thermometer in the seat.
Mm-hmm.
And then supposedly the one that has the good film on it is going to be cooler inside, the car at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And that there's a lot of truth to that, but there's a variable that's missing when people use that analogy or that example. It's time, because thermal equilibrium always wins. There's a law. If you go read the law of thermal equilibrium, that's if you put a drink, a beer, in a cooler in ice, the ice is cold, the beer is hot. There's an equilibrium that's met when the ice and the beer merge together at one temperature, and that's exactly what's happening in the car. We can put whatever film you want to put on it in the parking lot at Walmart on a 100-degree day with no clouds in the sky. The temperature inside the car will equalize with the outside temperature, with or without film.
Right.
So the thermometer idea is not bad. It's just you've got to consider the time. Let's put the thermometer in there and see what it says in 5-minute increments, and then 10 minutes, and then 20. Let's graph it, and then let's graph it without the film and see what it does. There will be a difference, and the film will it will slow the heat transfer down and slow the process down. But eventually, they both lose, because the sun wins,
Yeah.
So the air conditioners are what makes the difference, because one's going to work on 2-fan speed, and the other one's going to be working all the time at 8 to try to keep it cool,
There's a video on YouTube. It's a Hooper Optic video from outside of the USA, and it shows 2 sticks of butter on a dashboard with a timer, and one has film, one doesn't, and they show the timer, the countdown, and how the butter melts faster. Now, the way it's filmed, there's no way to verify what's going on, but I think that kind of
pretty simple, man. There's
that
a coating
same concept.
There's a coating in the film that slows down heat. The one that slows down heat the best melts the butter the slowest.
Yep.
Pretty simple.
Yep. So
that's a pretty good old, that gets your attention, It's
butter
really
on a dashboard for sure. It could be a ceramic coating commercial at the same time for when the butter drips all over your dashboard. So let's jump into the comments. We have quite a few comments. Ed said, "It all works, Ralph. I heard you say that 2 years ago. Changed some ways I look at it." And Chris Queen, so he's changed the way he's looked at things since you've been saying that, obviously, for a little while now. Chris Queen said quality over quantity. Rick wants you to tell him a story of how you guys met, which we'll get into, but let's keep reading these comments.
Okay.
And let's see. Ricardo asked if you ship Flexfilm to Canada.
We do ship Flexfilm to Canada. We have before, but sometimes it's not. It's somewhat cost prohibitive when you ship film overseas. You have to take on the expense, and sometimes there's duties and taxes and things of that nature that I can't control. So,
Right.
just to supply a tint shop, when they commonly order on a weekly or bi-weekly or monthly basis, is not cost prohibitive because it's so expensive. It's even borderline expensive for us to ship to Hawaii, but we do. But that's usually, yes, we can, but do we? Not usually, because of that.
So one advice would be if you want to carry Flexfilm and you're in Canada, that gives you an advantage of being one of the only, probably the only person carrying it in your area for sure. Just try to order in bulk, and that should reduce some of the expenses. And right?
Now, we can freight it. We can freight it over, and that's a whole nother ball game, because we can palletize something and we can send it over there, and it's not it's very affordable.
Okay.
And that's the way you would do it. Trying to do it small packages through, UPS, FedEx, or any DHL, it's just cost prohibitive, man. It's just cuts too deep into the profit, man.
Understood. Yeah. And those things can be out of control, but I just feel like that's still an opportunity. If I had a tint shop and I'm hearing that, and I wanted to carry Flexfilm, that's an opportunity, because it just makes me know that, hey, nobody's really doing this in your area, so make it work.
I feel like I know a lot about some things, but some things I don't know a lot about. I'm not a shipping expert. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody came on here and told me something I didn't know about shipping that could really change our lives, and that would be a blessing if that happened. So, keep that door open, guys. I don't know everything about shipping. I've never figured out the Canadian situation, or even some of the other, foreign overseas stuff that I mean, there's so many people that would love to get our product overseas, but it's tricky. It's tricky for me anyway.
So Ralph said that you could be the industry's UN ambassador, and Julio Mendoza asked, how can we increase our prices without losing out on sales? So, obviously the worry is, hey, if I ask for more money, what happens if I lose all my customers?
I think that sometimes people complicate that more than they should. Mm-hmm. And I've got a way to simplify this. I know as humans that we tend to profile people. You're going to look at the guy that pulls up in a car, and if it's an old beater car, you're going to not be overly aggressive about trying to sell this guy ceramic. Or if somebody pulls up in a Porsche brand new, you might be a little more, ambitious about, hey, I'm going to try to sell this guy ceramic. Don't do that. That's going to mess you up. I think it's real simple. There's only going to be two kinds of people that come up. That's it. They're either price shopping or they're value shopping. That's it. And it only takes us about a minute to figure out which one we've got. Let's just make it real simple here. You know what a price shopper wants. Everybody knows their priority is price. Mm-hmm. They're going to draw, you got to draw the line in the sand with that guy, and you got to tell him everything you can to try to sell it. He is looking for price. And you got to tell them what your lowest bottom dollar is and how great your entry level product is. And you've got to be willing to let that guy walk away. Price shoppers can be toxic to a business. If you do too many of those and you go down lower than you're comfortable with, you can start attracting more of them, and they become toxic because they, keep you from selling higher end products. Okay. Okay. Let's go to the value shopper. The value shopper is, they're price conscious, but their priority is performance. Mm-hmm. And with a heat box and a simple explanation, this dyed film or this carbon film is a wonderful product, and it'll give you that glare reduction, it'll give you that privacy, it'll enhance the look of your vehicle. It's even got UV protection, and this carbon film will even absorb a little more solar energy, and it's like a really good sunscreen. But you know what? That's protection. You're going to get a lot of protection with these offerings. But if you want some comfort, you ought to look at my ceramic. And I'll look dumbing this down. There's a coating in this film, and what it does is it slows down heat. It's just non-conductive, and it keeps it from moving really fast to the other side. And I want to show you what it does. I'm just going to need your hand and put it right here. I want to show you the difference. A value shopper is going to be like, that's what I want. Once you got the value shopper, you kind of own the floor. You're in control. It's not the tail wagging the dog. It's the dog wagging the tail. I would love to put that on your car today. Let's go over how this works. Then you're going to give them a higher price. And this is the biggest question that people ask me. How much do I charge? How much do I charge? You know what? I got a video about this, and I make this real simple. I don't know how much to tell you to charge, but I tell you this, I don't care where you are in the world. If you answer your phone or you price jobs over the counter and you tell people, somebody says, I want you to tint my Honda Accord, how much do you charge? If you start pricing them at, $165 and they hang up, well, let me start off a little. Let's say you start pricing at $200 and they hang up. The next one, $200, hang up, $200, hang up, $200, hang up. Okay, try $180. 180, you got 180, hang it, 180. Okay. And all of a sudden you're down to 165 and somebody's like, yeah, I'll do that. I'll come now. Then you miss one, then you get two more. Yeah, I'll do that. Let's just assume that for whatever reason, your market, which you can't control, your demographic, your per capita income, the situation you're in, maybe the way you've pre-framed customers, maybe the way you look, maybe the way your shop looks, you're doing tint jobs for 165. That's your market price. If 165 is your market price for dyed film or maybe a carbon, then you probably can get about 230 for a ceramic job, because I know your market. I know the relationship between 165 and 230. If your trigger price is 180, you're probably 300 to 320. If your trigger price is 200, you're probably 350 to 375, and so on. It progressively jumps up, and every ceramic business that's trying to get more value shoppers to try to get the average ticket needs a value ladder in their business. I mean, when you go to the dentist because you got this free coupon in the mail because you just got dental insurance to get a free teeth cleaning, and you sit down, they say, you know what, did you ever have braces? Well, yeah, I did. Well, yeah, I see some shifting in your teeth. We got a retainer we can sell you. Do you drink a lot of coffee?
Right.
Yeah, I do. We got the teeth whitening. There's a value ladder in there that they're going to work you up. They ultimately want to put you on some sort of continuity program where they come back on a regular basis to get your teeth clean and pay it.
Right.
In our tint business, we need that value ladder. All successful people have that value ladder. We need a good film to offer them for the beginning, for the price shoppers. We need a ceramic film to appeal to the value shoppers.
Yep.
But don't stop there. Always test your value shoppers. Say, listen, man, I don't talk to people about this every day. I don't put this on display, but I got a better film than the one I just showed you. You seem like a value shopper to me, and that this is what you're looking for. And bring it out. I got NanoFlex. This is the ultimate. Like, this beats all the competitors. We could put this. Just let me let you feel it. You never know. There's a lot of value shoppers that want more, but if you don't offer them more, you'll never get it. You'll never get it.
Sure. And
answer that. Was I answering the question?
I think it answered the question. It also answered Ed's question, because he had asked something similar about what do you do with people that come in with a cheap frame of mind. Something that I feel like, the original question was, how do you charge more without losing customers? So as you pointed out, your entry-level film isn't where you're looking to charge more necessarily. Your entry-level film is what's going to get people over the phone who have never seen your shop, never experienced your work, never seen you, never seen your heat box. That entry-level film is them agreeing to come into your shop. From there, the way you get more money for your tint jobs is having, like Ralph just said, that ladder system to be able, now they're in your environment, you have all the tools at your resources. Now you can upsell them. That's where you get more money. So in that case, you're not going to be losing anybody, because nobody's going to be turning you down. You're going to, if anything, you're going to see the value and maybe even dropping your prices a little more on your entry film, because you find out that some of those people that came in for 150 or 160 all of a sudden spend 350 and 380. It happens.
Always, I will put this in perspective. Work forward. Don't always work backwards. Like, if you work backwards, what you're doing is you're like, hey, how much you charge sent my Honda Accord? We charge $600. That's backwards. Right. What you do is you bring them in. We charge whatever, to get them in the door. See, a lot of you guys already know how to get them in the door. You've already been doing it. I don't need to train you. You've been there for X amount of years. Whatever you're doing, don't quit. It's just when you get them in, and you can almost play with this sort of passively. You can be like, listen, guys, they just came out with this new technology. It's kind of wild, man. They're like, you're just going to blow your mind. You got to see this. Would you mind seeing this? You get their curiosity up and say, this is what you came in for. This is what this new stuff they have now. This is this heat blocking film. Really dumb it down. Right. And they put their hand in front of it. Just sit back and watch the reaction. Oh my gosh. There's some comments made about all the comments that people make. Usually they cuss. Holy, blank. Yep. When they see it. And then you feed into that. You say, you like that, didn't you? I mean, this is great. I mean, that's what I'm talking. I'm going to get this on my car.
Anybody out there who wants a viral marketing idea to sell a lot of window film, I can guarantee you, if you put a little hidden camera on a heat box and, like Ralph just said, capture everybody's reaction, make a compilation of it, and in 20 seconds let people watch all these people's reactions. A viral video and great marketing material. You just have to do it. So
we did that one time in my the tint business I had, and in my separation from my partner, which was not really smooth, but it worked out. I don't know, it got lost. The footage got lost. I'm like, oh man, I had so many. It was funny. It would have made it on the funniest video TV show. It was just watching those people, man, when they reacted to it. So. No, but I think a lot of people are intimidated. Like, I'm not a high pressure salesman. I don't want to bring people. I don't want to ask them for $300. I don't want to lose my business. No. You got to look at it like this. Listen, I'm a tinter and I'm really good at what I do, and I'm very familiar with your car, and you're going to be super happy with the job that I do. Here's my dilemma, and I need your help. I have to make some choices once I get your car back here. And I can put a couple of different films on there. I can put this, amazing lifetime warranty, dyed film, or I can put one that's just like it, looks the same, but it's totally different in how it works, and it blocks out so much more heat. I need your help. What would you want me to put on there? Let me show it to you so you'll understand. And you kind of look at it like, I hate to bother you, but this is my job. I can't make this decision for you. It's not ethical for me to go back here and pick without you being involved, because this is your car. You're the one driving it. I'm just here to help you. but I got a simple choice. Help me make it. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
What are you doing wrong? How would they not like you or respect you for that?
Yep.
If they say, gosh, I got to have that one that blocks out all the heat.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's the one I would have picked, But let me tell you, it is a little more expensive, and a lot of them are going to just be like panicking on you. Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? It's not going to be $150, whatever. But you say, no, listen, it's going to be $300 or $320. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, no, ain't no what? No, hold on. Listen, you felt what this product did. You trust your hand. I mean, there's no gimmick here. You're going to get that type of performance on your car. I'll explain later how it works, but you can call around, man. And I start throwing out some big names. Y'all know who they are. If you want to get a similar product to this, why don't you call the big company? Why don't you call the other big company? If they can beat my film, I'm talking Flexfilm now. If they can actually beat the performance of my film, and you bring a sample back, if they can beat the performance of it, we'll put it on the seat box. I'll use your hand. I'll tint your car for free. I pride myself in this state that I am the lowest price for this technology that you can find. And I'll put my money where my mouth is. Would you like for me to just go ahead and do it right now, or do you want to wait? Nobody's ever waited. They just want it. If they're going to get it, they're going to get it.
So, I mean, I definitely think that's obviously a great way to, I really liked how, first of all, you're recruiting their help. So you're asking them, I need your help. Right. Recruiting their help is a great way, it's a great sales method and a way to convey your message without coming off in the wrong way. Yeah. And then, like you said, putting your money where your mouth is. Rhett asked, 2 films, one costs $300, one costs $600. Total solar energy specs might differ 3 points. Why do you convey it blocks so much more heat? Now, I just want to throw in before you answer this question. In my opinion, if one tier of your film is 300 and the next bump up is 600, that's too big of a bump up and you shouldn't be at 600 for that other film, because I think you're missing out on a lot of upsells between 300 and 600 mark. But his question is, 3-point difference in total solar energy. How do you convey it blocks so much more heat? And I assume he means to the customer.
Let's answer this question in a less personal way. I got an analogy for you. Let's say we got a 1984 Camaro, okay? Mm-hmm. Let's say we got a 220 Corvette, the one with the new mid-engine design, yep. And we put each one of these vehicles on a dyno. The dyno is going to give us some information. That information is going to be what is the horsepower. Let's assume for this example, they're both 500 horsepower.
Sure.
Okay. Now, a lot of times you got to look at this number and think, what does this number represent? This is how much horsepower this engine and under these hoods generate. Okay. But will that give me enough information to tell me which one of these cars is going to win down a track?
No,
I think not, because the other bit of information I typically would want to know is, let's look at the suspensions. Mm-hmm. Well, in the 1984 Camaro, it's the original 1984 suspension, and this 2020 Corvette's got something brand new with computer this and computer that and these special tires and this mid-engine design. I mean, it's got a whole nother ballgame going on in the new generation that we're in. Mm-hmm. So how do we rate the suspensions? Basically, it's the dilemma we're in. Window film protects you, and that involves how much energy that is allowed to pass through it, and the less it passes through it, the more protection the film offers. But then you've got this part of it that's got this coating, that slows heat down, and that's what its function is. It's non-conductive and it slows it down. Okay, so how well does it slow the heat down? That's the suspension. So the problem is let's go back to the numbers. We know the number on the dyno is pretty solid. Everybody agrees that that's the 500 is the number, it's the horsepower. So what if I said, so how good is your suspension? And what if you came in and said, it's a 4? What the hell does that mean? Okay, that's like, I'm going back to these specs. You found that the total solar energy rejection is different from one to the other, and it's 3 points. Okay, that's like saying, well, that's a 4. That doesn't mean anything to me. Somebody has no standard to go by. They've made they're reporting the way this heat is slowing down, combined with the protection that this film gives you together, like combining the horsepower and the suspension and coming up with some number that they're calling total solar energy rejection, which is based on a on a methodology that has no standard.
Okay.
Okay, all I got to tell you is this: do you really want to go by that, or would you just say, look, just give me the keys, man. Just give me the keys. Let me get in the car and drive it down the track, and I'll just tell you which one will go the fastest. That's the way I want these window tinters to think. Okay, or consumers, I don't care. Take a meter and meter the transmission performance. Get those numbers on a beam splitter, whatever. I got $1,000 one. I got it right over here, and then take a heat box and put your hand on it. Drive it down the track. Put your hand in front of it. You'll know which one's the value.
Sure.
That's how you do it. You drive it down the track, man. Don't go by somebody's numbers that's biased, that's trying to sell you the film, that has no standard to go by. They're not bad people. They're not probably trying to be dishonest. Just understand it for what it is. They have no standard. They had to come up with something to give you some sort of a measure that you go by, which you don't understand. You know, nothing personal. I don't understand it either. And if you ask them how they did it, they probably don't even want to tell you. Good luck. I've never had luck with it. So don't go by it. Just don't go by it. You know, just go by what you know. Drive it down the track. That's my way of doing it.
Hey, that's an analogy that clicks with me completely because, like you said, horsepower is one number, but it doesn't tell any other part of the story by any means. So
I could probably shave some horsepower off that Corvette with that suspension and still win against that Camaro.
For sure.
You know, so where's the value at, man? The value is to win. You know, which one of those films is going to help me get down the track? Which one's going to win? And I can tell you which one's going to win by the transmission information, which is the protection, and the comfort side of it, which is the suspension or the how well it slows down the heat. Pretty simple. It ain't that complicated.
So Jeff asked, are most of the adhesives synthetic? How many different types are there?
Yeah, kind of getting into some really technical stuff, which I'm not qualified to answer, but I can tell you some, you know, I can tell you what I know. We won't get too deep into this, but, you know, most people use acrylic-based adhesive for mounting. And the ones that are from like Korea are going to be like typically a low molecular weight. And, you know, if you compare them to like the American style adhesives, they're also acrylic, then they're typically going to be a heavy molecular weight. And if you look at the way they're coated, they're about 3.5 micrometers. You know, in America, on Lumars and, you know, all the domestic films, I mean, even Glory uses that formula. And then on the Korean side, they're going to be 7 to 8 micrometers. I think it requires actually more adhesive to get the same function as the thinner ones with the heavier molecular weight. But that's one thing that's changed about our film, because the source that I, you know, get to make my film has actually started using the American style version, which is now putting it at 3.5 micrometers, you know, making it higher molecular weight. And, you know, so it makes the film feel totally different and shrink different. Don't want to get too deep into my plug here. Let's go back to the laminate layer, because there's a laminate layer too, though. I'm sorry.
Okay. No, go ahead.
You got to look at both layers because they both equal, you know, when you say adhesive, you know, maybe we mostly think about mounting, but we also got to think about that little thin layer between the two plies. And so, again, a lot of the foreign sources do use acrylic there, and they use acrylic on the mounting. But in the American version, you see a lot of urethane-based laminates, and they're harder, thinner adhesive. And if you think about it, just the sheer volume of glue that goes on the films, it typically gives the American films a more crispy, you know, shrinking. You know, it's easier to install for a lot of guys. It's real crispy and sort of rigid. And these other foreign films have more glue, denser glue. It takes more. It kind of makes the films weight down and feel a little more, as they say, rubbery, you know. And so the glues that have the less molecular weight are typically more sensitive to heat over time. They typically will fail in like a little circular pattern around a defroster line or around an area like a matrix area where it absorbs energy and it has more heat there, puts more stress on the glass at that point. And when you see these round bubbles everywhere, usually on defroster line, those are classic like mounting adhesive type failures, and they occur on American and foreign films. And then, of course, the laminate failures are probably the most common, where the back windows turn blurry, and then of course the film starts. What it is the glue starts to to break down, and then there's a shift. See my hands? It shifts, and once you get that little shift in the two plies, like a glacier, okay, you get that blurry effect, and then you start seeing those finger bubbles pop up, and it just does all kind of like it kind of peels off the edges and stuff like that. That's a laminate failure, a little different than the mounting failure. I don't know if I answered the question or not. I was just kind of throwing some things,
I think so,
at the wall to see what will stick.
So Logan asked if he should go around to other tint companies and try and work out to all charge the same prices. And then Rick McIntyre responded. Rick said, "It is always good to have relationships with as many other tint shops as possible. Certainly share struggles and worries. What you can't do is discuss anything related to price fixing. That's one area to be careful. That's definitely against the law. But beyond just being against the law, really, that's not going to be like." I don't feel like that's really going to be a successful method, regardless of what you can cook up. The best method, in my opinion, is work on your own shop, work on your own products, your own service, and don't worry about the competitor. And it just works out. If you're focused on the customer, you win the customer. If you focus on the competitor, you drive yourself nuts.
I'll tell you what, I made a video. I've spent, when I went to college, before I dropped out with one class left, I majored in psychology, so I had an interest in psychology, and I love psychology. I like people. I like to watch what makes them tick, and I've made some observations in my lifetime over interacting with the window tinters. And I think, Eric, you and I had a quick conversation on this. I'll give y'all the short version. I've classified tinters, and I don't ever want to imply that one guy's better than the other. It's just I'm blessed now to understand them because I know how to communicate with them. And I think if you understand them and you view them as your competitors, you may know how to interact with them, or you may understand what their game strategy is, and it may not interfere with your game strategy. But I came up with 3 types of tinters. I think the most common tinter that represents maybe over 90% of them, I call them the employee-minded tinter. A lot of these guys are employees. They work for other shops, and some of them can own their own business, but I think their needs are very understandable to me now. They're really particular about the film and the workability of the film and how it shrinks, and the glue, the hard coats, because they're installers. They just want to get it on. They want to do a good job. They want everybody to be happy. They don't want any drama. They want it to work in the plotter, and they want to go home. They want to drink a beer, and they want to go have an easy life. Nothing wrong with that. It's just that when I identify someone as the employee-minded tinter, it helps me understand how to communicate with them. If I'm going to try to sell them something, I may know how to approach them. I may know what to say to them. I may know what to try to sell them. I may know what they're interested in. Then the other extreme, the total opposite of the employee-minded guy, is the entrepreneur-minded guy. I think he wakes up in the morning, he wants to win. He's going to own his own business. He's probably really confident in his ability to sell. He probably knows how to articulate. He knows, there's a lot of confidence with this guy, and he knows what to do to win. He's got to have the better performing film. He's going to put the customer's needs really before his. He's going to be mindful of how to get the film on the glass, and he typically might be a medium to top shelf tinter, and he'll figure that out. But to win, he knows he's got to base his sales pitch on performance, and look in the direction of the customer and win them from that perspective, and put himself second. And then I could go on and on about the entrepreneur-minded guy. We do better with these customers at Flexfilm because we're typically trying to push the higher performing film and the customer's needs, and we're comparing our products to performance with other products, and we typically will win. We now are able to get the employee-minded guy on board because they like the way our film shrinks. They're like, man, this stuff shrinks as good as my film. It's carbon, and I don't have to deal with dye and all this and that. And then when we pull it off the glass, it doesn't leave glue. Anyway, that's my plug. I'll shut up. But let's talk about the third type guy. Remember we talked about this joker confused me forever. I got these cool dudes coming up. We're having cool conversations, and I can't put him in an employee type context. He owns his own business, and he's just not quite on the employee mind train, but he's not an entrepreneur either. This guy didn't have as much confidence. He wants to win, but he didn't seem like he wanted to win by knowing how the film was made or really exactly how it performed. There was a win in him though, but it was different. He wasn't necessarily the best tinter out there. You'd think this guy would have been the best tinter because he looked the best, he presented well, but he just didn't do that great of work. I wasn't impressed with him. So anyway, I finally figured out how to categorize this guy, and I called him the independent contractor. And so mainly what separated this guy from everybody else is because he was about the brand. He had to be with the big name. And if you ask him, what's the best film? He'd say, well, of course, it's the big brand. It's the brand that chose me. I'm the only one that can sell it. I'm the man. Nobody sells it around me. And everybody knows it's the best. You go look at the ads, look at the this and that. It's almost like he's using that as a crutch or a security blanket to mask some of the weaknesses or, that he may or may not have. So anyway, why did I tell you all this? Because it really helps understand these gentlemen, all these people, because we know how to communicate with them and we know who we're talking to. And if we're competing with them, if you're the employee-minded guy and the entrepreneur-minded guy opens up across the street, y'all probably are going to miss each other. You're doing the $150 jobs. He's doing the $300 jobs. There's a lot of that goes with that, and y'all aren't crossing each other. It's just when an employee guy opens up and another employee-minded guy opens up, there's the battle. Now we're talking about price wars and race to zeros. These guys get nasty, and two entrepreneurs can go head to head. That gets nasty too. I like the way these guys pair up, when you start understanding how they think and their mentalities, you start processing what's going on. And it makes it easy for me to talk to them. Once I start talking to somebody for about 5 minutes, I begin to start my profile. They don't know what I'm doing, but I'm already profiling them, It helps me communicate with them.
It's right. It's of course it's understanding who you're talking to, what they're interested in, and being able to, like you said, communicate with them. So that that's an interesting way of looking at it.
It's really helped me a lot.
Some things that kind of, I guess, come to mind is if anybody thought to themselves, "Oh, am I an employee-minded tinter?" If you felt any insecurity about it, let me just reassure you, there's absolutely no best scenario in those different categories that Ralph just laid out. The reason I say that is everybody's different. Everybody's perspective's different. You can be a tinter and think, man, how much money my boss is making and how much money I'm making him. And then what you don't know is how many hours they're putting into it, how much money they're necessarily not making or how much money they're putting into it. Like, you don't know the picture, but there are advantages to being the owner of a company. There are the advantage to being the employee of a company. It has to be a good company. That's what's important. It's not about which side you're on. It's about the quality of the company, the values of the company, who you're working with. Go on.
I've seen people look at themselves and go, man, I am an employee-minded tinter. I own my own business and I base everything on that perspective. And I don't know if I want to be an employee-minded tinter. I think I want to start trying to be more of an entrepreneur, minded tinter. I think I want to put my customers' needs first. I want to look at this carbon film. I want to look at the value that the film brings and focus on that first. And, I've seen people literally convert,
Sure.
Nothing wrong. I've seen them go both ways.
It's a change of strategy. It's an evolution. And
Exactly.
one other spot I want to push back on. You mentioned the middle category would be somebody who maybe uses a big brand as a crutch. And I just want to push back on the crutch because at least in my opinion, there are advantages to going with just about every company. Every company has their advantages. So some companies, their advantage might be the brand draw. We could talk about 3M, Expel. Those have brand draw. I
don't mean to say crutch is a derogatory statement.
I just want to push back on the word crutch because crutch is typically not. I'm just saying, there's an advantage to it, but there can be an advantage, but there's also advantages to, like, every company has their advantage. You know what I mean? And I think it's identifying what works best for you in your market and going from there. But that's just my opinion.
Hey, look, I use crutches. I use crutches in my business. I had some capital that was available to me to start this business that would not have ever happened if it wasn't there for me. It's through family member. So crutch can be good. It can be considered negative as well. I didn't mean to put it that way.
And I didn't mean to box you into that category. I just, I see the advantage of some companies' brand draw, but I've seen that advantage being diminished year after year over time. And I think, we've talked about this before on previous videos, but, now is more of a time where if you want to earn the customers, they're coming to you for you. And the brand you have is kind of falling second. And that wasn't the case maybe a decade ago, but is going more and more and more in that case now. You agree?
Listen,
disagree?
I pride myself on creating strategies to gain the trust of a value shopper And you put any big name up against me, I've got a strategy to talk very, very good about that company, even talk better about the installer, but present it in a factual manner where the customer has no choice but to choose the product that I'm trying to sell. I'm not trying to go into a room full of tinters and convince these guys that what I'm saying is right. I don't have to convince them. This is a battle on my battlefield when I'm with it, at my counter trying to get a tint job with a customer. And I can give you an example if you want to. I'm not going to use the name of a company. Let's take the guy across the street from me is using a name brand. Let's just say it's the biggest dyed film company out there in the world that's already proven themselves to be successful.
Okay.
So they're going to come in and say, I'm shopping for my tent. I've got it between you and the guy across the street. What do you sell yourself? Why would I choose you over them? By the way, I just want to point out, sir, thank you for the opportunity. And that's a great question. But the company that the gentleman across the street uses is by far the best dyed film in the industry. And you can research it. You can, fact check me. You can even ask the gentleman yourself. I know he'll agree with me. Okay. And the reason they're so great is because, they have a proprietary method of dyeing polyester, and they use a Gen 4 technology. And, you can rest assured if you put this product on your car, it's going to be very stable and beautiful and clear. It's probably not even going to fade if they, are on their A game that day and don't have any problems if they are manufacturers. Now, I could go on. The gentleman that's going to put it on, top shelf, okay, he's great. I mean, there's no doubt you'll like his work. I've learned from him myself, but, we're both very talented, okay? So that's not a problem. But let me tell you why you're going to choose us today, because, we use carbon. And carbon, is a newer technology in our industry that's evolved way past dye. And there's a couple of reasons that carbon would benefit you in this picture that you can't get with dye. Number one, if you are concerned about fading color change, I can completely eliminate that as a possibility, because we all know dye can and has a tendency to fade. See, it's not my job at this point to try to tell any details about that or which companies have fading problems and which ones don't.
You don't want to go too deep down a rabbit hole regardless.
Yeah. Not my job. So I can say, number two, listen, dye is a great material or additive to put in a window film to darken it, but energy doesn't filter through it very well. It only filters out the light, doesn't filter out any other part of the spectrum like infrared radiation and things that contribute to heat. Just lets it go through, which can be very damaging to your car. Now, the carbon that we use does absorb a majority of that. I can dumb it down. I don't have to tell them the percentages. It just absorbs the majority of that. So from a performance perspective, it's in a totally different league. Using the dyed film is going to give you probably around a 15 SPF, and using the carbon is going to give you not a 110, probably about a 60 to 80. I'm sorry, I don't have a 60 or 80 with you, but it was just happened to be like that. And say, what would you like to do? I mean, would you like to schedule an appointment day? And I can start off with the carbon. And by the way, my price and their price are probably about the same or very competitive. So there's not a big difference there. Well, what would you like to put on your car today? You see what I'm saying? I didn't say anything bad. I didn't say anything bad about the installer. I was totally complimentary to everybody. I just said, this is my product. That's theirs. This is the advantage. What would you like to do?
You started off by agreeing, essentially. And
agree with everything.
Yeah.
Agree with everything. Yeah. But hey, what do you want? Dye or carbon? You see what I'm saying?
Yep. And when I mentioned a few minutes ago that, every company has their advantage, you have to find it. This is an advantage, in my opinion, of Flexfilm, because you have somebody has this knowledge, because this is great advice. These are great sales tactics. And, do you get those from your manufacturer? And I'm not here to promote Flexfilm. I'm here to talk about, specs and so on, but that's just a valid point. It just is what it is. Like, where does the information come from? I first became aware of you from your YouTube videos. How much information is in your YouTube videos? How many times you pull out a heat box and say, hey, this is how we're going to use a heat box. This is how you're going to upsell. This is what ceramic film is. Like, that's valuable information. And that can be that could be a big factor in, hey, this is why I want to sell this film, because look at the education I'm getting from it.
I want to point something out. I'm glad you brought that up, because I'm 50 years old. I started making those videos when I was younger than 40. And I started like everybody else trying to figure this stuff out. You can't call these manufacturers and start asking them questions. Where's your film made? How's it made? They don't tell you. There was other methods I used to figure this out, and it didn't happen overnight. It happened over time. That's another topic, another day. I could get into all the details of that. But the YouTube thing, you could watch my evolution of videos, where I started off sort of struggling to try to explain how things worked. Sometimes I got things halfway right or didn't have enough information. I just left the videos up because they're just cool, and it reminds me of where we were back then if you look at when it was published. And then you see maybe where I got to figuring it out, then the videos got too technical. I go back and watch them and I'm like, my head's even hurting. I'm like, are you kidding me? Nobody's going to grasp that. And I guess I pride myself now at 50 and been in the business of about a decade trying to deal with this ceramic and this nano stuff. Really got a grasp on it. I've got a grasp on it so well, I'm not trying to necessarily figure it out as much anymore. I'm trying to figure out how to explain it. That's been the biggest breakthrough for me. How to explain this in some basics, drop the mic fashion, strategies where it's just done. And it's like, now I finally get it. Dang, thank you. You are the first guy that came along that just made some sense out of this. And, with the Yeti cooler and this and that, that's my objective. That's what I'm trying to bring to the industry is education. And I'm trying to do it now in a way everybody can understand it. So
I think you're accomplishing it.
Yeah, thank you.
We got a lot of comments to run through.
Let's do it, man.
Christine asked, question, could you develop a new metric, maybe how long it takes to take a heat card to get X hot using a standard bulb at a specific distance? That's why it's based on actual physical results. Ralph, do you have kind of an idea in your head how a metric for automotive could be established, like what that would look like?
Yes, I've been thinking about this quite a bit. This could be a long topic. That's a good question.
We have 24 hours.
Yeah. Now that's a good topic, but let me give you a metric that I think would maybe be more understandable for most of our audience, and not get too crazy and technical. Look, we all hear about the term low angle haze. That's always been a downfall of ceramic or especially carbon because it's a particle technology, and these little particles are like a dirty front windshield. When the sun hits it, it turns white, and it's cloudy. And it's not very attractive, and it causes trouble. And, nobody wants to deal with that with customers. Our film now doesn't have that anymore, but that was a problem and a struggle. And now there's also a relevance between low angle haze and performance. As we're seeing these ceramic coatings improve, or we even see them coming out of China, but there's a lot of stuff out there that really, if you just go by the numbers, are phenomenal. You get those high total solar energy rejections and these IR 99%, Mm-hmm. Well, anybody can throw this non-conductive coating in the film and get the number up. But, if you put it on the car, can you see through it? Does it have any haze? I mean, some of these films are just unmarketable. You couldn't even put them on a car and stay in business 5 days. So there's a relationship between performance and low angle haze. What we strive for is, we want to have the most and best technology, with the coating that's in there to slow the heat down. And by doing that, we got to put the most nanoparticles in it, the ATOs, the ITOs, the tungstens, and things of that nature. And we want to have the best of that technology and the smallest particles and the best coating, this and that. Okay. But at the same time, we want to maintain the integrity of the film with less low angle haze. Right. So I've come up with this, why don't we come up with this, performance to low angle haze ratio? I want to look not only at the best performing films, but I want to look at the one with the most favorable ratio.
So clarity versus performance.
The least amount of low angle haze.
Clarity and performance being together, yeah?
Clarity
is clarity not low angle haze at an angle?
There's a difference between clarity. Okay. That is a special separate spec. It is very closely related to low angle haze, but they're two different specs. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Low angle haze just refers to the particles that reflect and create a hazy effect from reflection of the sun. Clarity could just be the polyester quality and the blurry factor. So there is a significance to clarity. Then there's ways to express clarity, and there's also ways to express low angle haze. But I would love to see this as a common spec. Hey, the performance of the film to the haze ratio. I want to see the most favorable ratio because that's going to be the most valuable film to me. The one that performs the best, that looks the clearest. That's clear slash less haze. Okay.
Okay.
I'm sort of lumping them together because they're so closely interrelated. But does that make sense? So
Completely.
yes, there's been a lot of things that we can do to better communicate, what our film's doing if we came up with some sort of standard. But that's always the fallback problem. There's no standard. So without a standard, we don't have any consistency in the reporting of the data because nobody's using the same data to come up with a number. So there's the fallback. There's the problem. We don't have that.
That makes a lot of sense.
Does that answer the question? I didn't go into the detail of the heat sheet per se, but generally we can put films in front of heat lamps and put the heat sheet in front of them. What I've done on some of my more recent videos was put one heat sheet and have one bulb and put two slides side by side, and then see which side of the heat sheet changes colors first. That would give us an indication of which film wins against the other, or which one slows down the heat the best in a direct side by side comparison.
Right. But in the end,
is our signal doing okay?
Yeah, no, everything looks good on my end. I mean, I feel like, in the end, even if we have the world competition and the standard of window film, I don't, at this moment, think consumers are so focused on specs as they are, again, kind of what you said at the beginning. How's it literally look to them in front of their face, and how's it feel in front of their hand, and how your shop looks, and if they found you, and how your reviews are, and so on. I just don't think many customers are really interested in you being able to prove your specs outspec anyone. Just my thoughts.
Yeah, you know what? Listen, this is going to encroach into your level of expertise, which I bow down to because you probably got this way more experience than me. But I'd like to talk about the context you just brought up. We're talking about ceramic. We brought that up several times. I want to use this word called pre-frame. Okay. See, people don't realize that, there's more to selling ceramic film than just getting a roll. That's the last thing you do, okay? The way to sell ceramic film, we talked about the value shopper versus the price shopper. We've thrown a bunch of nuggets at this, okay? But really, there's a pre-frame going on. We even talked about the factors that you can't control, like the location, the population density, and all the demographics, okay? But there is a pre-frame. How does your shop look? Does your shop, is it in the back of a tire store? Is there tires laying up everywhere? Is it nasty? If you present yourself in front of a customer, even with a heat box, and you are in this nasty little environment, and you show them the heat box and you've got this wonderful ceramic, and then you ask for more than $300, do you think you really can get it? I mean, the customer is going to be like, I don't know, man. I got this dude showed me some film. I just don't trust him. So selling ceramic film is a bigger picture than what people are giving it credit for, because you got to have a nice, presentable shop. Sometimes a nice, presentable shop can just be a clean shop, an organized shop, just something well thought out, just a nice, humble space. And the better you can make it look and feel, the easier things become to pre-frame the customer, to condition them to ask for the money. Yeah. And then, of course, this is where I'm going into your world, website. Everything seems to funnel to a website, okay? I know Erik could probably better elaborate on this than me, but, we can go to Facebook and we can go to where people congregate, and we can advertise that we tint windows, and we can put our website on there. We can funnel people back. There's 101 ways. There's 1,001 ways we can funnel people to this website, and we can talk about that all day long through Instagram, Facebook, just whatever the world gives us out there in social media and Google. We can send them back. Now the website is like this hub that I see, and this hub has got to be built correctly to entice people or to convert people to give. To bring them to a call to action, which is typically to call you on the phone. And so that's one of the things we did right at the Glass Tiger Tinting. We had a good SEO game, search engine optimization. Mm-hmm. We were bringing people, easier to our site. So we had a lot of traffic, but our site was able to convert. Basically, It's like a big filter.
You have to get found, you have to convert, right?
Yeah, so in this game, what we're trying to do literally is put a filter up in front of between us and the customer at this point, because if somebody was looking for a $99, $150 tent job, I needed to filter them out. by my presentation, which was typically a nice video. Hey, my name's Ralph. Thanks for coming to my site. I'm probably the guy that's going to tint your car. And listen, what we offer here, is a super heat blocking film. It's called ceramic. It slows heat down, and it's actually quite incredible what it can do. Over and beyond the traditional films that you find in the market. Just something. We show the specs. We experimented 101 different ways. But by the time the customers saw what we had to offer, they would call us, and when the phone rang, and we started talking about ceramic, or we started talking about some higher end films, and they, can we make an appointment? They would come down, and then when they came down, they saw how nice our store was, how well we presented ourselves, the heat box, and then we presented ourselves to ask for over $300, and they would say yes.
Right.
It wasn't a coincidence. It wasn't magic. It was a well thought out plan. It was a machine that started from a super pre-frame, that started way out into the cyber world, funneled to a website, was filtered literally to get the junk out, to get my phone to ring, to position me to sell you something that was more than $300, because that guy woke up that morning saying, I want a nice tint job. I'm going to filter out all the $200 guys immediately. I'm going to go to the 200 and up, see who's got the highest price and the best film, and I would win every time.
Yep.
Would you like to elaborate on that?
Yeah, I mean, because a lot of times the conversation gets into, like we just spoke over an hour about how to basically convince a customer that you are better than the person next door, that your film is better, which film to go with, and so on. And really, that is such, to me, it's the last 10%. The whole beginning 90% is getting in front of the customer and getting them interested in your shop. Because if you're too concerned, if you're too worried that you can't convert your own people that are calling, or you're worried about the guy down the street doing it cheaper, what that tells me is you're probably not getting enough phone calls, and you're not getting enough phone calls from the right person, from the right type of people. So, I think ultimately, like everybody, if I had to say, okay, we're on The Apprentice 15 years ago, and we have to make the most tint sales, what are we going to do? I'm not going to necessarily go to learning how to explain the film as quickly as I'm going to go to, hey, let's get in front of the most customers online, and let's look the best, because our online presence is their first impression of our business. Then let's communicate as much as we can online, because that's, once you put it up, it's there and it's going to pay you back over and over. And then once they're coming to your shop, the few that want to compare you to the guy down the street, you should be able to explain why they should work with you. But most of those people are just going to be right through the door. You're going to show them the upsell, and you're done. And it's not so much about, taking somebody who says no and convincing to a yes. It's about getting more people who are interested in the services you're providing.
We talked about the pre-frame in the beginning. The pre-frame to go into a buy here, pay here car lot in Carrollton, Georgia, Auto Extremes, is owned by Mark Clayton, is that I'm going to buy a car that's got a lot of miles on it for $500 down. And that's what you're going to sell. That's what's going to be easy to sell. If you interrupt that pre-frame, with a brand new Corvette, you're not going to sell it. And vice versa. If you go to the Chevrolet dealership, and the Corvette's sitting there, and the sales guy greets you, and you've got $500 in less than perfect credit, and you think you're going to walk out with a car, you're going to be disappointed. But they're not going to. They're going to be really nice, and they're going to admit that hey, you are lost. I'm sorry you found us, but you need to go over there. And then you go on and buy your car. The pre-frame is important, because everybody's pre-framed to go to the Chevrolet dealership to buy a new car. Everybody's pre-framed to go to the buy here, pay here to buy a used car. And we have to pre-frame our customers to bring them into our business, to condition. They have to be ready and conditioned and primed for the ceramic sale. If you really want to make ceramic sales. If you're the dyed film guy and you're trying to bring ceramic in, there's going to be some friction, there's going to be some struggle, and you're going to have to make adjustments around you to pre-frame better to get more sales. So of course, no matter what you do, you got to consider the demographic. If you're in the wrong place, you don't see Ferrari dealerships in small towns. You see them in very...
Yeah. I'm just one to push back against demographic. Anytime demographic comes up, I go, but there's certain areas of demographic is absolutely what it is, and that's correct. But I just think take demographic out of your mind until it's unavoidable, because you're in a population of 4,000 or something like that. Then demographic really matters.
Well, I agree with you. Let me just quickly elaborate on the demographic thing. I had two tint shops at the time. One was in Carrollton, Georgia. One was in the Lilburn, Georgia. That was the one that we were hitting hard on the ceramic sales. We would use the same exact strategy. It was not as an attractive little location.
Sure.
We used the same pre-frame strategies, and we did use the same product, the same sales, everything. But we were almost as consistent with sales. Like, we could sell ceramic just as easy there as we could at the other location. It's just that we could get $350 for a ceramic upsell. This was about, 10 years ago. And we were struggling to get $230 to $250, $230 for the same presentation, because we just didn't have the per capita income. We just didn't have the market. It's just, and that's all I'm trying to say. I think if I were to go back to Ferrari, if you kind of look at these larger cities, there's always going to be like the inner city portion, and then there's going to be some area outside the city where there was a lot of wealthier people who retreated, as the city, became filled with lesser income people. They retreated to these areas where you'll find the golf courses and the nice grass and sidewalks, and there's where your Ferrari dealerships are. You see what I'm saying? Typically.
Yeah, I gotcha.
And if you got a tent shop in that area, you're probably going to be okay with your demographic and get the high end, as you can get. And if you're in like little towns like Rodney McClure and Bremen, there's money there. And he gives me wonderful stories about some crazy prices he gets, but more commonly he's fighting a lower price point, with a ceramic tent job, because it's like that, about 8,000 people, and it's too far away from Atlanta, things like that.
So just to throw out some easy pre-sale or ways to kind of prime people to be upsold, just some of my own thoughts from experiences that anybody can do is, first of all, make sure everything's clean. No matter how it looks, if everything's clean, you're like step one. Step two, have some water. If you can hand the customer a bottle of water before you even start to speak to them, you introduce yourself, you say hello, and you hand them a bottle of water, that's giving you the opportunity to, kind of change their frame. You're giving them something. They've just accepted something from you, and you've kind of warmed up this open conversation. Yep. My third one would be a little strange, but I know it works, is get an oil diffuser or something similar and make sure your place smells good. Because when people walk in and they get a good smell, it's one of those triggers that has a psychological effect, and people like that smell. So if it's clean, you're giving them a water, they have a good smell, you're putting them in a relaxed environment. And then the last one takes a little bit of effort, but just get somebody to paint inside, outside. Even if your walls are like studs and you have insulation, take a white spray gun, and spray everything white, because that's going to improve your social media pictures. It's going to improve everybody's perception. So just simple paint. And like, if you go down that road, you're going to find more and more ways to further prime. And one more thing, and then I want to jump more into the comments, is the website. You mentioned the website. A good website can be had for as little as maybe $1,500 to about $3,000. You could spend more, you could spend less, but I think that's kind of a reasonable amount for a website for a window tint shop, and that website is your storefront. So that website's probably going to be great for you and serve you for at least 3 or 4 years. It's such a valuable investment. So anybody neglecting your website, jump on that immediately.
Yeah, that's good advice. If you're operating a business, tinting windows, and you don't have a website, it can change your life. It can change your life because it gives you a lot of options. It gives you an online presence. It gives you a hub. It gives you a way to bring people to you. And then there's also the Google Local and stuff like that. I think I talked a lot about that last night. So
I don't think anybody should think about getting to the end of 2020 and not having a website. It's absolutely crazy. Everybody's customers are shopping more and more online and deciding where they're going to go and driving there. It doesn't matter if you're on a main street. Get a website. Okay. My gosh. So let's see what we got here. Marissa Ashley said, when you go and buy a TV, does the sales guy load you a technical information about the TV? No, he tells you can watch on your Sunday football and it'll look great. That's a good example. TV is a good example. Nobody's going in there and really shopping on like megahertz. You're like seeing the clear screen and going, wow, look how clear that screen is, right? That's why all the TVs are on.
Man, I look for the cheapest TV, and I hate to say this, but it's usually there playing, and I can watch it, and I can look at it next to the more expensive TV, and if I don't see enough difference, and there's a big price difference, I'm probably going to buy the cheaper TV. And when it tears up, I want to buy another one.
Hey, I'm actually the same way. I have a $250 50-inch Roku TV from Costco, and
Yes,
it serves me perfectly. So
that's right.
sometimes, sometimes you're the value shopper. There's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, like I may be a value shopper when it comes to tent, but I'm not a value shopper when it comes to TV. I don't place a lot of value on the TV, for some reason.
Yeah.
Is there any other comments going down right now? I can't see them where I'm from. I
Yeah.
mean, where
I'm scrolling through them right now. So Chris Queen had a question, a nice
all right.
lighthearted question. Where did you come up with your film's name, Flexfilm? How did you come up with that term?
I didn't think of that name when I originally got with my partner to start the tent business and the distribution. He told me that he had been thinking about distributing film for years prior to us even meeting, and that he'd already come up with a name. And he thought, I said, "What is it?" He said, "Flex Film." I said, I like that, man. It's just got a ring to it. He says, "I know, it's a good name. I've thought about it. I've been thinking about it for years." I said, "Well, if we're going to do this, let's use that name." And then that evolved into like, well, what products are we going to sell? And I had no idea at this point what to sell. I was a tinter. Okay, I was just going to try to sell anything anybody would sell me that I liked the way it shrinks, and seemed to think that it had a good reputation. I didn't want to sell anything that was going to be garbage or come around and bite me. But I learned by making a lot of mistakes that that there is a lot of garbage out there, and they will come out around and bite you. And that anyway, I'm answering that question. I didn't want to get too far off, but I would like to discuss my evolution to where I am now and where I started, because I don't want to sit here and toot my own horn and talk about how great my film is or all. I would really enjoy talking about all the mistakes that I made, because that's what makes us grow. It's fun to talk about mistakes because they're how I learn. It's how you learn. And if you know anybody that's successful that says, "Well, I've never made a mistake," no, you don't. Everybody makes mistakes,
Sure.
And I've made a ton of mistakes. I've asked for people to please forgive me if I sold you a product that didn't work out right, or I've lost friends. I've made friends. It's just it's been a really interesting journey to where I am now. But I'm still here, and I'm still standing. I'm standing strong. I still make mistakes. I don't make nearly as many mistakes as I used to. Had I made as many mistakes as I did at one time, I wouldn't be here. I had to. I think people misunderstand my business model sometimes, because I'm a private label distributor, and yes, I sell film. That's why we're here. Ultimately, I do sell film, and that means I put something in my box that I bought somewhere. I wake up in the morning, I put my pants on one leg at a time, and I'm a window tinter. I try to figure out, well, where am I going to buy film? What am I going to put in that box? And who can I talk to? What relationships can I make? And who do I need to run from? Who do I need to hug? And all that's become really easy for me to see now with my knowledge. And that's why I think I've kind of become sort of a tent nerd, because I've had to shake hands and listen to people say, this is how we're making our film. This is why it's going to work for you. And, then you start selling it. Then you watch, then watch it fail. And when it fails is when it's a double-edged sword. It's exciting to see it fail, but it's bad to see it fail, because it could really cost you everything and your reputation. I got scars from it. Look, but when somebody lies to you and tells you, or misleads you and tells you something about their film, and then it fails, that's when you can catch them, because you can reverse engineer a failure. If they said, made a representation about the film that had weathable polyester, or it had some sort of a dye technology, and then you watch it fade, or you watch what it does, and you're like, you lied to me, because I see how it failed, and if it had what you said it had, it wouldn't have failed that way. Anyway, I could go on and on about details. I got to be careful though, because I'm not here to like rehash like certain companies that I've dealt with, or talk bad about anybody. I don't think that would be productive for the group. But I do give a higher level of detail one-on-one with people if necessary. I don't go out for that, but I do have a very intricate understanding of who's who in our industry.
Sure.
And I know that I know the origins of some of this technology, and who's got it, and who builds film, how they build film, where they outsource their raw materials. if they're cutting corners. I know cutting corners basically not by what they tell me. Nobody sends me a memo and updates me every week. I know what's going on in the field. I watch films, what they do in Florida. I watch that same company, what they do in Arizona. I watch what they do in Wisconsin or Canada, and I know what I see, and I can reverse engineer it. And, I've got a really, really good beat on it, and I've got a solid product line from it now, but it's taken me about a decade to get it, and a lot of bruises, a lot of bumps in the road, lots of warranty claims over years, that I've had to pay. I'm still paying some from some film I sold almost 10 years ago. I still see some warranty claims from that, but, we rarely have any trouble with anybody, especially in years. But
how do you handle warranty claims? Like, what's the warranty now currently? What's your warranty policy?
It's like everybody else. It's no different. Here's the warranty, secrets if you want to hear them. Nobody in our industry is going to just replace your window film and guarantee you in writing labor. Now, it is extremely customary that if there's a failure and you filled out the warranty paperwork, or maybe if somebody in the company just approves it, hey, yeah, I'm sorry for the failure. I know you didn't fill out your card, but we're going to pay it. Their obligation generally in writing is to replace the film, provided that they did it legal, or the failure itself was as a result of exposure, and it falls under their failure details of what they'll cover. But generally, though, there's always this unwritten rule that the tinter is going to have to remove the old film and put the new film on. So there's this element of labor. Hey, what are you going to do for me on labor? I mean, I got to pay my guy, or I got to spend all day myself taking this old crap off and putting this new crap on. As a rule of thumb, it's never in writing. If you want to let a nickel hold up a dime, just make the guy mad and he'll quit buying from you. But if he's currently buying from you, it's always I think a suggestion to say, listen, I'm not going to pay the film that's damaged, but I'm going to pay the labor. So, for example, if he says I had a Honda Accord and it came back and everything looks fine, but the back window's doing something, you might just offer to give that gentleman $80 or $100. If it's a ceramic job, it goes up, but if it's just I'm just giving you some guidelines, but if it's dyed film, it may have only cost $15. You don't want to insult the guy and give him $15. You might say, listen, how about if I just pay you $80 or $100 and put that credit on your account, and then when you buy next time, it'll go to your next purchase. And that way, that's our way of compensating you for the problem. That's how we do it.
Okay.
And if they're not buying from us and they call us and they ask us for help, we would help them. I don't turn anybody down. And I'm sure there's been some examples of somebody that got turned down. We've had people that send us warranties that, we pay them or give them credit, and then we finally get the film back. That we ask them to send it back, and it's not even our film, but life goes on, man. It's not that big a deal. We just pay it. We go with our life, and so be it. It's not worth it. What am I going to do? Go on social media and start bashing the guy? That's not cool. I don't have time for that. I go forward, man. I don't go backwards. But it happens a lot. You'd be surprised at what window tinters will do sometimes, but a lot of them are just honest people. Most of them are just honest people that just need help. And if you help them, they're not going to go to social media. They're not going to bash you. If you don't help them, they're going to get mad and they're going to show their tail. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. It really is all about how you take care of it, because, like a tint shop may be frustrated that they have a warranty claim with you. But it's all about the way you handle it. The same way a tinter might, burn somebody's door or cut their dash and then go to replace it, and the customer is going to be upset with them. But again, it's all in how they handle it. So, like you said, most people are good. Most people give you that opportunity, and the world keeps moving on.
One thing that I want to point out is, like, say you're a tinter and you're buying a film or using the film, and then all of a sudden you begin to have problems with the manufacturer, and maybe they're not giving you good service, or maybe the film is maybe being uncooperative, maybe it's got bad glue. We call that a quality control issue. Or maybe yet it's been installed for, an extended period of time, and it's been exposed to the sun, and it starts to, peel, crack, fade, and things of that nature. So we call that a film failure. Okay. And so, you get to a point where you're like not comfortable with the supplier. Maybe you don't want to take a chance on the product. What do? You discontinue business with that supplier and you go find a new one. Okay. That's what we've done at Flexfilm. That's happened to us. It's like we've discontinued many suppliers in our past, and we've gone with new suppliers to solve problems like anybody that's trying to be successful would. But unfortunately, if you're a tinter or you're a distributor, there's always going to be that customer or that dealer that wants to go back 10 years ago or 5 years ago and point out, don't let that guy tint your car because he'll burn your door panel, or don't buy film from that company because, it'll bubble off the back glass. Well, that's cool. I know you're mad. I know you got your opinion, but maybe that guy burnt your door panel. Maybe he hadn't burned one in 5 years. So maybe he won't burn your door panel. Maybe the guy that distributed some film to you that you had a problem with, maybe he didn't use that film anymore. Maybe he uses a different film and he's had great luck with it. There's always a little more to the story if somebody's actually standing and they're successful. Maybe the opinions, not always what it appears to be,
So Rodney McClure asked, is there really an advantage of carbon ceramic versus a deep dyed ceramic?
I think the advantage is going to, let's just assume for this example, you got two top shelf films, one's coming from a dyed film source and one's coming from a carbon source. And they both have ceramic coatings and they both have the, similar equal abilities to slow down heat. Mm-hmm. The question is, what's the advantage and what's the disadvantage? I think it starts to, rise to the top to the level of marketing. Okay. Maybe not so much to a room full of tinters, but at least, I'm going back down to the counter in my business where I'm trying to get the tint job, and I got the guy across the street using a reputable product that's dyed ceramic, and I'm over here trying to sling the carbon ceramic. Okay. I'm going to fight, in my opinion, with a bigger sword. And by the way, I can equally sell dyed films and I can carbon. So I can give you both sides of the argument and be very unbiased, because if you don't like carbon, I'll say you dye. If you don't like dye, I'll sell you carbon. So I'm really not trying to win here on this, but my counter is different, because I want to suggest that if there's a product across the street from me that has dye in it and I got carbon, I'm worried about fade and color change, because everybody knows dye fades. That's the presentation that I'm going to make. I'm fighting to win for my family to get the job. I'm not telling the customer that the dyed film's going to fade. It is his job or her job to do the research to figure out if it's going to fade or not. It's not mine. I'm just concerned.
Some will, some won't, right?
Yeah, I'm concerned about it. And so I can eliminate that concern because I can sell you carbon with no dye. And I know carbon won't fade or change colors because it's an insoluble, element that's stable, So I use leverage like that in sales to win. And if you put me with a carbon next to a dye, and I tried to take both sides, I can give you some pretty good both sides arguments. But I really lose the argument when it comes down to performance at the end of the day, because a dye will let energy go through it that carbon won't. So that's my answer. It's really a difficult. It starts to get more difficult to win when the films get better, and they come in from both camps, dye, carbon. Now you've got two good technologies that exist. Carbon was weaker 2 years ago. It had more low angle haze. But the dyes don't have low angle haze, but the coatings bring the low angle haze. And the dyed film companies using the inferior coating technologies were having low angle haze problems. The carbons improve, but if a carbon has an inferior low angle haze technology because of its source, it's got low angle haze problems. You just got to know what you're buying, and you got to understand it. That's what I'm here to explain to people if they ever want to call me. I know this stuff, man. I know what's what.
Yeah. Yep. And that's why we're doing this.
It's complex, man. I don't want to just get too nerded out over here on the live.
So Garrett Wilson said, I believe the world of attorneys missed out on Ralph and Pelt. Well done, sir.
Thanks, Garrett.
Let's see.
Garrett's somebody that's considered a dear friend, but he also, and I appreciate him. He listened to me, and he and I together went with some strategies, and carbon slash ceramic was brought into his situation, and I'll let Garrett say it. It changed his life. He essentially has a phenomenal business. He's got the pre-frame going on. He's got every ingredient he needs. Good location, sharp guy, good tinter, blah, blah, blah. But we simply increased his average sale. We went in there with heat boxes and strategies and talked about it and, just had a good time with each other and hit it off. And we succeeded. He has more sales. I don't think he was really competing against anybody. He was competing against himself. He was kind of stuck in a barrel with a product that was, limiting him. He actually asked me one day when I came over there, Ralph, you're supposed to be a stud. You're a good salesman. And some dude walked in with his wife and he said, you try to sell them. And I was using his current brand, not mine. And I'm just like, flopping like a fish on the dock, man, just like retarded. I was bombing out. The guy was, just got the cheapest film in there, and he kind of looked at me and said, "Well, what happened, man? Why you just totally failed? What happened?" I said, "Because I ain't got the right film. If I showed him something that actually worked, I might have had a better chance. And I think." Ding, ding, ding. He might have said, maybe we better see what he's got to say. So we changed out to our product, and it started working. Ask Erik, it started working. So, because our film slowed more heat down. So you got to make a good presentation. You just can't go buy a ceramic because they say it's ceramic. If you put it in front of a heat box and you put your hand in front of it and it don't feel good, how are you going to convince the customer?
Sure.
That was the fundamental problem. So anyway.
So on a different note, Liz wants to know what the green drink you're drinking is.
This is Clear Valley Dollar General bottled water with a Jolly Rancher apple.
You put a Jolly Rancher in your water?
Yeah, man. No, Jolly Rancher to go.
Is it like a powder? Okay.
A little powder, give it a kick. Yeah.
Rick McIntyre said you should never view another shop as a competitor. There's no such thing as competition in the real world. That is all in someone's head. With the millions of cars out there, if you're fighting over a customer, you're doing business wrong, and I can prove it. Rick, I agree with you completely. I definitely think there's enough customers out there, and when you focus on your competitor, you're focusing on the wrong place. It really can steer you astray.
That's a very true statement. I'll go with that.
Cody said, I don't know if this is something you know about or if it was directed at you or the people in the comments, but basically Cody asked, is Expel opening up franchise corporate stores or is it just a rumor? Do you know anything about that?
Just a rumor.
I feel like they do have at least a couple corporate stores, but I don't know what their plan is.
I'm not going to go tint windows, and I can only be in one place at a time. So I know what he's saying, though. Am I going to open up a store and hire employees to
not you
tint?
If Expel's opening franchise corporate stores, or if that's just a rumor?
Yeah, Expel. I don't know their business model. If I told you what I heard, it would only just be hearsay. I wouldn't be able to back.
Dean Mitchell, where are you? Come in here and please, I guess, clear up those rumors.
These guys are nice to me and we get along, but they're not sending me the memos on what they're doing
corporate strategy. No, it's a publicly traded company, so like things like that on a publicly traded company, I'm sure that they're well kept close to the chest, and whatever is known has to be known. Whatever isn't, because of stock reasons, I don't think can be like leaked out there. But is what it is. Rodney said, "Remember, your customer don't care how much you know until they know how much you care." I think that's a very good statement.
Rodney's got the one-liners, man. You got to watch him. He's good.
Yeah.
He's got that tint wisdom.
I agree. That's a great way to look at it. A great thing to remind yourself of, that, customers at the end of the day, like, they can tell, what, like, are you trying to help them? How much do you know? How much do you care? What's your angle? Are you just focused on pressure? Are you trying to inform them? Or do you seem to have their interest in mind, or do you have your interest in mind? So it's a great way to think about it. Just scrolling through the comments, looking for questions. Go ahead.
The only one regret that I have is as much as I had the ceramic game figured out and, figured out all these things about customers and what their needs are. One thing I really probably wish I would have had, and I don't want to sound like I'm pulling you into this, but I've started kind of looking at your software, which I don't know a lot about it. I just know what I've seen superficially. And, all I'm saying is that back when I had a tent shop, there wasn't anything really out there like that. I would have had to literally retrofit some sort of a software, which we did. You know, we basically did things on like an Excel spreadsheet and stuff like that. But apparently that might have been where you started it and then evolved it or something.
That's exactly where I started.
Awesome for us, man.
So I started with a Google Drive Excel sheet. So it's, Microsoft Excel, but Google Drive. That way it could be accessed from any computer because it lives in the cloud. Yes. And then I also used Apple Calendar because to me that was a convenient calendar because everybody has an iPhone. And then to communicate pictures and job details, we used email. So the installers would get an email. It would have pictures and all like the information to what they needed to do. They would go do the job. They would come back. They would email us back pictures with all the information to do. Somebody would call. I would hit Control F and I would search on Google Sheets to find them. And I'd say, okay, here's your name. Here's your address. Here's the film we did. Here's your square footage. Here's your price. And I had their information quick. Now, that is awesome. But then the first things we ran into was, well, once you have a lot of people on that Excel sheet and then you have repeat customers, oh man, does it get wild to pull up their information and see which one they are. The next thing was scheduling. So we're a flat glass company and we're trying to schedule people to go throughout LA to do installs and consultations. And 10 miles in LA can be an hour and a half. So grouping people together is essential. So when I'm taking these phone calls and I'm going, okay, where are you located? Okay, perfect. And then I'm looking and I'm like looking through the calendar. I'm going, all right, when are we going to go there? I can't just look for an open spot. I have to find a time we're nearby because it could be an hour and a half commute just there and then the same thing back. So I said, what I need to invent for this business that would make my life easier, the start of it is I need a calendar with dots on it. So when I can see where my appointments are, and I can see a dot where the one I'm scheduling on, because then I can go through the days and I can match the dots. I can see when the purple dot matches with the blue dot or the green dot, and I can see this is when we'll be in your area. And that was the beginning of TintWiz for my company. That's how it came up. And it replaced now the calendar, it replaced Google Excel, and it replaced that email information. So then from there, we quickly added the ability to upload pictures. And then we said, well, can we make like a check-in and check-out feature? Because then we know when the installer, because you get those calls in the morning and say, hey, it's 8 o'clock and I haven't, my installer hasn't shown up yet. And I could say, well, no, they showed up on site or they haven't or whatnot. I could check in on my installers. I could see what time, and we just went along down that progression, adding a way to do proposals on site and give the customer a digital proposal. That saved consultants a lot of time. That raised their closing percentage. Then, adding invoicing in QuickBooks, and basically what we created was a method that everybody in our company could share. The graphics people, the people answering the phones, the consultants out in the field, the installers, me as the business owner. We could all be in touch with the jobs in real time, share that information in one place, and be able to provide a level of customer service that you couldn't provide when you're looking through emails and you're making mistakes and you're searching through Excel sheets. And that was TintWiz.
This sounds like it was born. I don't mean to interview you, but I had a quick question.
Let's do it.
It sounds like it was born from a flat glass needs.
It was. So it was born for flat glass.
Did it evolve into automotive?
Yeah. So
as well.
Exactly. So, we early on had some users using it. They were in automotive, and we built automotive right alongside the flat glass. And awesome. The pivotal moment was this was my secret. This is something I invested a fortune into building for my company. It cost me more than any one of my employees per year, but it paid me back more than any one of my employees per year because of what it was able to do for the business. Now, as fun as that world was, I felt like, hey, we dominated the Southern California market. We were the largest window film company. We doubled companies that were there for 30 plus years, and we had only been there for 4.5 years. And I was given the opportunity to sell the flat glass company to the largest company now I think the largest company in the country, and they were the second largest in our area. And I said, hey, yes, I'd love to sell you the window film company, but what I'm not selling you is the software we use, because the plan was, hey, I love the software. This is what I actually love doing. And I'd love to teach everything that made me successful in window film to the community, and I can offer this software out there as well. And that's TintWiz. So, it's been out for about a year. We have a lot of users. We have a lot of potential users, and we have a lot of people that I know will be using it that don't know they're going to be using it yet, but in a year, 2 years, 3 years, they're going to be using it. Our purpose isn't to go in there and twist anybody's arm to use it. I want everybody to experience. I want the happy users to bring more happy users, because that's the way we can truly know that we're doing a great job. Go ahead.
I ask you a trick question because I appreciate what you just did, because what you did, I'm not trying to trick you, but what you did is, we've been talking about ceramic. We know I sell ceramic. We know I sell carbon. I'm a nano guy. We talked about pre-frame. We talked about websites and hubs, and, we just, basically in a nutshell, we said it's not about just buying the roll. Ceramic is a lot more around the roll that gets you the sale and gets you the money. And so I think that, you're a missing puzzle piece that is necessary to this big pre-frame. And, your software will better connect you with the customer.
Oh, yeah.
And, help you stay organized and help you stay on top of, interests that people may have with ceramic that you may have come across, and, you're trying to get in the door, or in the after side of it, when they're done. And I know I don't know your software, but I already know what components it would have to have. So, and I know the after side of it.
I can tell you right off the bat, that's a game changer. That was a game changer. It is a game changer for users. And when it really hit me, because you get customers and you're able to schedule them quickly when they call. You're able to reach them sooner because you're being efficient. You're able to pull up their information when they call you, know who you are. They're not getting calls back, because calls back are a waste of time for you too. Because
these are still problems that I have now. My company just scaled up really large. Mm-hmm. I got a lot more traffic right now than a typical tint shop. It is overwhelming for me. I'm getting older. My mind is not as sharp. I'm not trying to get anybody to feel sorry for me, but I do need some sort of a better system to keep up, because I've had a lot of people say, I called Ralph a year ago to try to get a sample, or he said he was going to call me back and he never did. It's nothing personal. I probably remembered the conversation, but it slipped my mind because I have so much going on, and I'm just, I don't have a huge support staff. I am the sales guy, the main one. And it's just, some people need tools like this, and I'm, I guess, what am I trying to say? If I help people that are going to expect me to help them on a higher level with ceramic, and they're going to help their customers on a higher level, we have to do more than just sell them film. We have to help them with solutions for their business. We have to help them with the point of sale displays. We built websites for our customers. We assist people with plotter technologies, and software. We go way outside the scope of just selling a roll of film to help people when they have these needs. And I'm learning more about you. I'm learning more about, your software, because, I don't know you like, well, I had known you for 20 years. I never used your software.
So we spoke for the first time maybe 2 days ago, and it was in preparation for this video. We spoke for a little bit before that. This is the first time really getting to know you. But since we're on the topic of TintWiz, I want to bring something up. So please. There has been some chatter about TintWiz on Facebook, which is cool, because the more people that know about it, the better. So I appreciate all discussions and all chatter. Now,
just make sure they spell your name right.
Right?
Somebody's going to talk about you. I'm just kidding, man. Go ahead. Tell us.
So basically what I want to clear up is, hey, you now know the story, or I've talked about it before on Tint Wizdom of how this came up, and I've been in the window film industry for 10 years. This is an industry I love. I see this industry as a family. I see this industry as a unique, fragmented, kind of like infant stage industry, because it's not like a plumbing industry where you can say there's a million plumbing companies and there are corporate ones and there's nationwide ones. This is a unique animal we have with window film. And knowing that, I've been in this industry for 10 years. I've been developing the software for 5 years. There was an insinuation that the grand plan with this software was to steal leads. Now, I can tell you with certainty, generating leads was not one of my challenges. I'm actually really, really good at generating leads. So to build a software, invest a fortune, to steal leads from my users is absolutely absurd. Just the most absurd thing ever. And I'm
just going to say something.
I just want to say one more thing.
Okay.
Our customers are our users. Okay. I come online, I do these lives. this is me. I'm the guy behind the company. I'm the only one that's really behind the company. I can make all the decisions. So what I'm here to just say publicly is, you can say, oh, well, what if it was a big company like QuickBooks? They won't sell your data. They will sell your data. You could see another window film or another CRM company, and they say, well, we're making something for the window film industry. Then we're going to make something for this industry. And then we're going to expand to this industry. And we're going to move on and take all industries. There's plenty of those. House Call, Jobber, and so on. Guess what? They're going to probably sell your data too. You know who's not going to sell your data? The guy who actually cares, the actual person who's in a position to do this, wants to do this, enjoys doing this, cares about the community, and I will continue to do things to better the users. And what I know is the people who don't understand that now are the people who maybe haven't met me, they haven't used the software, they haven't watched these videos. But I am certain over time, they're all great people, there's misunderstandings, I'm always here to clear it up, but at the same time, I'm not going to take part in craziness that goes on in online forums. So anybody ever has questions, I'm the easiest person to reach. I'm live on Facebook multiple times a day. So just want to put that out there, clear it up for anybody with any confusion.
Well, I'm glad you did, because I saw where maybe your company was being attacked to assume that to make people think or assume that you are there to sell their data, which would be the strangest breach that you could ever do, to try to go up to some small town window tinter and what are you going to do, get $500 to give his competitors customer name?
And one more thing, the tri-edges, it was insinuated that I sent out these tri-edges as a way to lure in leads to my master plan. Listen, my plan with tri-edges, and the reason I sent those out, of course, I want you guys, I want all the tinters, I want everybody to be able to experience a great product.
Yeah, my attention.
Right, I want to get your attention. I want you to be aware of TintWiz. Of course, I want to find ways to bring awareness to TintWiz. It's something I know can help people once they learn how to use it and they implement it in their business. I know it helps Jay from Tri-Edge. It's going to help all the tool companies, 44 tools. Every tool company that sells Tri-Edges, it's going to help them because it brings awareness to their products. We never sold them, but here's what it does even more. And those are my reasons. And then this is my reason in the back of my head, because I want to push manufacturers. I want to push tool companies. I want to push every other company in this industry to raise the bar on how they treat tinters and how they treat their customers. Because what happens is, if TintWiz gives away free tools, well, maybe we should give away free tools. Hey, maybe we should supply more things for our tinters. And you know what that does? That raises the bar for tinters. Everybody benefits. And I think that's what it's going to do. There's no secret plan. I keep thinking of that cartoon where there's like a guy and he's like this. And it's kind of like he's like a villain or something. I don't know the name of the cartoon. This isn't it. That would be fun, but this isn't it. This is legitimate, and you'll see my plan is, this is at least a 20-year plan. I have at least 20 more years in me. I'm 36. 56, maybe it'll turn into 66 or 76, but I know for at least 20 years we're here. So if you don't know me yet, if you don't like me for some reason, if you haven't used TintWiz, that's cool. This is the very beginning of a 20-year relationship we're going to have together at minimum. So
whether you like it or not.
Yeah, whether you like it or not, I'm here to stay in the industry, and I love everyone.
Yeah, that's why I'm trying to be your friend, man.
I mean, why not? We can all be friends. There's no scenario where being enemies works out for anybody ever in the world. There's never a time that being an enemy actually works. Never works.
I like a guy like you because you think like me. We could get on the phone and like talk forever, like I've known you for my whole life. I just, I appreciate you. I profiled you, man. I didn't know who you were. I was trying to figure you out. I was just trying to figure out, if this guy's for real or is he a joke or, when I finally got to talk to you, before I talked to you, I got the pre-frame on you, man. People were saying, hey, I've been talking to Erik. You need to talk to that guy. He kind of sounds like you, or, he's got the same vibe that you put off. He's definitely an entrepreneur. He's got a good plan. He's got a good product. I just kept thinking, I got to meet this guy. He's making some noise. I've been watching your Facebook. You seem to know what you're doing there. I mean, I've gotten your ads and your sponsors, your graphics, everything. Man, you look good, man. And I like your what you're doing, and I think you're definitely a relationship in the making, and everybody's witnessed this right now because you're going to be somehow incorporated into my my sales to help people with ceramic. You're going to be a piece of that puzzle. I know you are. that piece is like everybody's witnessing it right now, going down. You know,
and I know from being on the side of a window film company, I know the things that I wish were provided to me by a window film manufacturer, by anybody. But I used to look to the manufacturer and say, why don't you do this? Why don't I have this? Why haven't you created this? And, you know, I have the opportunity to create it and bring it to market and help either push manufacturers to create those things and to better what they're doing, or to align themselves with TintWiz and let's help do it together. But either way, it benefits the industry. And that's how everybody working together. There's room for all the window film manufacturers to sell film. There's room for all the window tint dealers to sell film. And there's just room because it only drives innovation. It only drives more success. So, you know, we're all in this together.
I'll tell you what, I don't know how many people are watching us. If we still got activity, you got the monitor over there. We still doing good?
We have about 55 people live now. We've been kind of teetering from about 50 to 75. So,
wow, that's awesome.
We're 2 hours and 20 minutes in. So
I was just making sure I wasn't like wearing anybody out. You know, David DeRocha knows I talk red off a stop sign. You know, I don't know if he's still watching or not.
I think he is. David DeRocha, actually, I'm looking at a comment. He said, I made $1,400 off dyed flat glass film today. It's freaking nice.
Well, he's a dyed film winner, man. He's doing pretty good over there.
Lumar RN07 on dual pane, which is a great dark film.
Glass. Yeah,
for flat glass. And go ahead.
Well, I just I don't know if anybody's asking any questions, but you know, I guess you know when a new movie comes out, you know, you start seeing the stars. You know, they're on the Tonight shows, they're on the morning shows. You know, you're all going to see me. I have a new product. I sell film, and I can tell you honestly, I've never had the two combinations I've got now. I've got the performance. I've always had the performance, but I've never had the most user-friendly film. And it's always kind of kept me a little on the shy side because I knew my film was going to be somewhat of a struggle for somebody that just wanted something a little easier, because there were other products out there that are a little easier to put on. But you know what? I got it both now, man. I got it both. I got the best user-friendly film. I got the best technology. I've eliminated low-angle haze. I mean, I got this new life about me. I'm going to be on videos. I'm going to be on lives, and I'm going to be talking about it. And you know, if anybody wants to try my film and they want to contact Flexfilm, I'll probably personally give you a $50 coupon. What do you call it? A code that you can use at checkout.
Yeah. So anyway, what's the easiest way? If somebody wants to try out your films, is there samples available, or do they order a roll, or what do they do? Literally, what's the next step if somebody's interested?
You know, I'm not trying to sound lazy or anything, but you know, for a smaller company that's very laser focused on what we sell, we cater to only a small part of the market. You know, with the nano technology versus the dye, we don't have the biggest customer base. So if you called us up, you know, we would have people that would help you and listen to you and help you with samples, or maybe offer you deals on a roll to try, you know, at a discount, things like that. But, you know, you can always go to our website and click on sample on anything we sell, you know, for a subsidized price and try it, you know, for like a 10-foot or maybe 10-foot samples. I know now that's a sample. And, you know, a lot of people are like, I'm not going to pay for a sample. I got that. Okay. But traditionally, people don't pay for dyed film samples, and that's typically the way you sell dyed film. We ain't selling dyed film, so we are going to charge for a sample. And kind of the reason we do that is it's just a filter, you know, because if we had free samples, it would get out of control. People everywhere would come and kill us, and they're not really qualifiable customers. We don't want to sell to anybody and everybody. We just really want to sell to the window tinters at the end of the day. So if you were to go buy a sample like of a dyed film, it's like $4.95, or a carbon film would be like, you know, like $10. Okay, pay it. It's more to cost you more to ship it. And then if you like it and you want to buy a roll, call us up. We'll give your money back right there for the next roll purchase. So it's free, really. We just have to put a filter on it to manage it. It's out of control.
So I'm a little
or like I'll give a $50 off coupon. Here you go, $50. You come to our site, buy whatever you want, and at the checkout, put it in, and $50 goes off your bill. That's it. I'll do that, you know, if people ask, you know, and I'll give it to them personally. I'll send it to them within 5 minutes. That's it. So,
okay. So if we could, and then this was a comment from a little while ago, but I feel like it's a fair question. I actually have my own response, but let me let you respond to it first. Paul said, so it was in response to the warranties. And when you were mentioning, covering the film, but not necessarily covering the labor, sometimes covering the labor as a credit and so on. He said, and I just, the reason I want to bring this up, or he asked the question, just because I think this is an angle that sometimes people see it from, but there's a way to clear this up. So what Paul said was, so you make all the money, but we as installers cover the cost to replace the rubbish film.
Well, first of all, I think I was misunderstood. Let me clarify what I want people to understand.
Okay.
I don't make the rules. I report the rules. Okay. The rules in the industry, if you go read anybody's warranties, you can pick the top shelf companies and you can read their warranties, and they specifically say that they will only replace the damaged film. That is what everybody agrees to do in writing. If there's a warranty that exists where they specifically spell out that they're going to compensate you for labor in addition to film, I would like to see it. I haven't seen it yet. I don't know where that exists. And if it's something that exists, show it to me. It's new. I promise you it slipped through the cracks, and I don't mean to give out bad information. Now, what I'm trying to tell you is, apart from everybody's warranties, and they specifically do not include labor, the question is do manufacturers pay labor? The answer to that question is yes. It is a common practice. If your film fails, in writing, all you owe them is film replacement. That is a safety guard to sort of be in line with the industry standards of what these warranties are saying. But if you want to apply common sense to this, don't go past common sense. It gets dangerous. If you got a good customer and there's a good relationship, and they call you up and they say, Ralph, or Lumar or 3M, we need your help. Okay, we put your film on and it failed. Okay, will you help us? Generally, they'll say absolutely. We'll say absolutely. We'll not only pay for the film, but since you're a current customer, we value you, you're a good guy, we're going to also offer to pay you labor. And we would like to help negotiate that, because every market's different. Everybody's charging different prices. But what would be fair? And that price usually emerges, and that number is usually put on as a credit, and you get that back. And we do pay for the rubbish film and the labor, and that is how we handle it. We never. I'm speaking for myself now. Would you let a nickel hold up a dime? If you're buying $30,000 worth of film from me, and you got a back window, would I let you walk over $100 bill? I wouldn't. Just a common sense. Anyway, but I tell you what, if you had a back window that went bad, and you reported it on Facebook, and you were trying to get Mark Zuckerberg to help you, and then everybody was starting to bash it, and then you call me and ask me for help, it would be a little more difficult for me to want to deal with you, because I'd be like, what are you doing? Why are you trying to bash me, then try to come help, and ask me to help you? You know what I'm saying? I'm a human being.
Yeah. I get it.
Human being, and
it all happens on the other end too, because you get those customers who leave a bad review over nothing, and then maybe call and want something for free, and it happens. The one thing that I want to point out, Paul, the way I looked at it as a window film company in a previous life, you said, Paul had said, so you make all the money, but we as installers cover the cost to replace the rubbish film. So the way I looked at it is, as the tint company, I made money from the customer, okay? I did make money. Now, the manufacturer made money, I made money. Now, here we have the customer back with a warranty issue. The manufacturer supplying the film, I'm supplying the labor. I still have some money left over. I still made money on that project, even so I had to add in more labor. They still made money, hopefully, on the film, even so they had to add more film. We both made some money. We both had, made a little less than we had hoped. Now, if that situation's happening to you constantly, then you're carrying the wrong film. That's definitely not, I would move on, because that sucks. But if it's happening here and there, then it's not them making all the money and you getting screwed. You're both contributing to the issue. And, to my understanding, sometimes warranty issues can be installation related. And most of the time, I would say probably they're not, but sometimes they can be. And at the end of the day, you have a relationship with the manufacturer and with your customer. And what's I just don't see it as a tint company getting screwed because they have to also provide some labor, and that's part of taking care of your customer.
The first thing you have to distinguish when you get this call from a customer is that, are we dealing with a warranty claim, or are we dealing with a quality control issue? They're two separate issues.
Sure.
Let's tackle the first one real quick. The quality control issue. You sell somebody a roll of film, it's simply not suitable for its intended purpose. Maybe it's got some bad glue. Maybe it's, maybe been damaged in shipping. I don't know, but, the customer is going to immediately call you. Hey, the film's got bad glue. The film's got problems, spots in it. I can't put this on the car. Okay, the remedy for that is to instantly give that customer what they ordered and make it right, shipping and everything included. Now, that's pretty simple. Those are common. Those happen to everybody. Okay. The film failure is the worst one. It's when the film was intended for its suitable purpose, installed on the car, and then stayed on the car for some extended period of time, and due to exposure from the sun, began to fail in some sort of specified way, like in the warranty: peel, crack, fade, color change, and things of that nature. One of the largest companies in the world that sells film does not even have a fading or color change language on their warranty. Just thought that was kind of interesting, which is typically, a problem. It's mostly going to be adhesive failure. But if it's a film failure, then there's an issue of removal, and there's replacement, and there's labor in the middle, and that has to be considered. But that's usually never addressed on a warranty in writing. That is usually subject to, the manufacturer and the dealer, making some arrangement, and that's typically based on the current relationship that's involved at the time of the warranty claim. And I'm saying that if you totally got mad at a company, you went crazy on social media, you stopped using them, you went somewhere else, and then tried to call them and ask them for labor, you're probably not going to get it. Sorry, I'm not speaking for myself necessarily, but I'm speaking for everybody. They're going to loophole you. Hey, man, that film wasn't legal in that state. Or did you fill the paperwork out? Did you write down the roll number? There's a million and one ways. Every warranty you can loophole out of it if you really want to. But if that's the way you're going to run your game, and you got bad film, and you're going to get a bad reputation as a distributor or a manufacturer, it will come back and bite you. That's all there is to it.
Yeah.
No different than anybody's business.
So
did I help out? I hope I helped answer the question.
We got plenty more questions. So if that did or didn't answer, just keep up with questions and we'll get to it again. So Janice said, Mike Alexander wants to know, where is the industry going, such as manufacturers have accessorized vehicle, Bluetooth backup cameras, and amenities? Hydrophobic coatings are becoming a norm. Where do you see our challenges going forward?
There's a lot of variables other than what was mentioned. There's glass. One of the biggest things is the hydrophobic coatings is sort of interrelated with the glass technologies. We've done some research. I don't know this to be 100% accurate, but there's a lot of truth in the middle here. But there's a strive in the industry, the automotive industry, to make glass lighter and make cars more fuel efficient, and they're trying to get the cars to drive more quiet. But the way they used to do it was make the glass heavier and harder and denser.
Dual pane, right? Even
well, not necessarily that. Just heavy, just thick, heavy glass to make the car drive smoother and better. But it wasn't contributing to fuel economy. So we're seeing some lighter compounds. We're seeing some newer glass technologies that make the cars lighter. And the glass is getting softer. And sometimes, it changes out, the way we install the film. And we're noticing hydrophobic coatings. We're noticing they're not cleaning the glass out, like they did out of the molds. It's just, I've heard so many different stories from different glass companies trying to find out what the heck's going on. But I think it's got a lot to do with a little bit of all of it. It's just our times are changing, manufacturing's changing, the strive to make glass different, to make the cars have better fuel economy. It's all combined, man. You just got to stay on your toes. You just got to know which ones are what. And there's no substitute to either just learn by doing and memorize what cars are problematic, which ones are going to have the peanut fingers, because of the way they do their defroster lines. And then, look in the forums and look, just be informed as you possibly can by keeping your ear on the ground, and your eyes in the sky.
Like the coatings on like Toyotas and Lexuses, on the inside, a lot of them now have like a coating that.
Yeah, you can always go to any of these groups, like the WFR group, especially because there's almost 8,000 people there, and say, hey man, I'm about to tint a certain car today. Any heads up? I'm worried about hydrophobic coatings. I'm worried about peanut bubbles. What y'all know, man? What you got? And somebody's always going to come on and help you. It's better than Tint Dude now. It's up to date. It's live. It's instant. Like, wait about 5 minutes and watch the comments come in. So that's what I recommend.
Matthew Perry said, how does the software work for automotive? I heard it's geared towards flat glass. It's actually geared towards everything. We have flat glass, automotive, and marine. You can handle PPF. You can handle paint. You can handle anything. So you can handle ceramic coatings. You can put in like the color of your vehicles and then sort by them. You can put in the make, model. That's all preloaded. All the films are preloaded. All automotive films are preloaded. All vehicles are preloaded. You can even put the tag and VIN in the customer record if you'd like. And what that does is give you the ability to then look back and be able to pull up your customers based on, you could pull up a red Tesla Model X, with a certain shade of film. You can sort your previous automotive customers and flat glass and marine in any way you want once you're using this. That helps you then in marketing, that helps you in sales. You're going to use that information literally forever. So it's definitely, we get users who will say, well, we heard it's for a big company, we're small. Well, definitely a big company can use it. A small company needs extra hands, right? You want an extra person, extra 10 people. Well, you can get that in the form of a software. You don't need to be a big company to be organized. And then that same goes for flat glass versus automotive. Automotive, I mean, if you're doing appointments, do you want your customers to get a text message automatically when you schedule them with your address and with the confirmation of time, or do you just want to ignore that? Do you want to have a calendar? Do you want to have what time you brought them in, what time you checked them out? Do you want to have quick invoicing? Do you want to have a place to put pictures, before pictures, after pictures, walk around videos, and so on? There's no, I heard this is for, it really is effective for everything window film and everything related. And then let me get off this subject and move on to the questions because we have a ton. But also mentioning, we have companies that we have a fence company that uses it. We have a painting company that uses it. We have companies that do 12 volt that uses it. The point being, it's flexible to, you can quote whatever products you want, but it's geared towards the window film. It takes you through a process for window film. And of course, if you want to sell other products or accessories, you can. So I'll leave it at that. Jeff asks, is that in the privacy agreement of TintWiz? Jeff, I'm not completely sure. Oh, if you're referring to the not selling the data and so on. So the privacy agreement is on TintWiz's website. You can review that. And if anybody has any questions regarding the privacy agreement, more than glad to answer them. Privacy agreements are, they're legal documents. They're typically drawn up by a lawyer and so on. And they have to be written in certain ways to protect the entity, to protect the user, to inform the user of, what the intentions are and so on. But, at the end of the day, I can only say, use a software if you want to use a software. If you're hesitant, want to stay on the sidelines, stay on the sidelines. And when you're comfortable, use it. That's why you don't see me. We do these live videos. You don't see, these aren't sales pitches for TintWiz. I just want to provide everybody value. You'll see what I know what I'm talking about. You'll see other tinters excelling using it. And if you want to hop on board, hop on board. If it's now, if it's next year, if it's the year after, like I said, I'm here for at least 20 to 30. So
can I say something real quick? I'm in the process of creating a dealer locator for the Flexfilm website. Is that the same as somebody buying the data?
A dealer locator? I mean, that's some of it. That's some of it, because
see, I think tinters can sometimes worry about problems that don't exist. If I was a tinter and I was using your software and you sold my customer base to the guy across the street, who cares?
Oh, I would care. I would stop using it. If I was a tinter, I know what you're saying. I know what you're getting at. If I was a tinter and I was using a software and they sold my data to another tinter, I would absolutely stop using them in half of a second.
Of course, it wouldn't make any sense.
However, I feel it's silly if you're going to put up walls in front of you for problems that aren't real and don't exist as a boundary that stop you from moving forward. So I'll give you an example. Like, we're all on Facebook right now and we're all on Gmail. So like if you said, oh my gosh, my webcam is going to come on and they're going to see my emails and they're going to say, okay, cool. So get rid of your phone, get rid of your email, and we already know they're using your data and we're still cool with it. In this case, hey, I'm accountable. I'm right here. Hello. You think I'm selling data? I'm going through all this trouble to build a software years upon years to steal leads. You know how easy it is to generate leads? It's not difficult, and that's what I'm trying to help everybody do. So, the people that use it benefit from it. We even have users who I've asked in the past to do testimonials, and they said they won't do a testimonial because it's a secret. They don't want other people to know that they're using it because they feel it's a competitive advantage. That's cool with me. Time will tell. That's how it works.
Anyway, we're I think I got 2 hours and 46 minutes, man. We're cooking, man. How many questions are?
Man, I'm going through the comments. There's a lot of comments, so thank you for everybody. I'm trying to just, I'm trying to separate out the questions. Rodney asked, why not set yourself apart when it comes to warranty? When I designed my squeegee blades, I made a bold move that the other companies just don't do. 100% money back guarantee. I see this as an opportunity. Confidence is power. Hey, Rodney, I agree with you completely. And, Ralph just came on a live stream and thoroughly explained his warranty. And now what that is going to do is that's going to give everybody the opportunity, if they want to one-up his warranty with their warranty, that's how the market works. And Ralph can make those decisions too. That's the open market. But I guess, Ralph, what's your thoughts on that? Why not set yourself apart with the warranty, or do you already do that?
We've stayed mainstream with our warranty and we made our warranty be in line with most other warranties. Now, we thought we were being really cool, with our carbon technology, because we know it won't fade and change colors. And we read the #1 dyed film company, where they have nothing about fade and color change. That's not included. If you have a fading and color change problem with their dyed film product, they won't. It's not in their warranty. They'll be like, well, sorry it faded, sorry it changed colors. We never agreed to pay for that anyway. They would just thumbs down, baby. Okay. With us, I thought, well, let's put fade and color change in ours, and we'll already have the better warranty than the #1 company. That was the way I one-upped them. Now, as far as paying labor, that's really tricky, man. It's tricky for anybody, and it's usually done behind closed doors. And if you want to keep customers that are good, you better pay them, and you better pay them generously, and you better help them. You don't leave them hanging out to dry, because if you leave them hanging out to dry, they're going to go to social media and they're going to tell everybody. It's just the way it is. And so you got to make big boy decisions. How do you want to handle your customers? Do you want to be fair with them, or do you not want to be fair with them? Because if you choose not to be fair with them, it's going to bite you in the butt. That's all there is to it. And it's just, anyway, I feel like we're beating a dead horse there, but that's what's happening.
So Daniel Puentes asked, what is your opinion on dealerships preloading cars?
I mean, you can't stop that train. I mean, right. These, the dealers are looking for first of all, you got to understand something. Dealers don't care about ceramic. Typically, they're not the end user. They're not the emotional buyer. They need the tint on the car, and they want to see how cheap they can get it done. And with all these preload opportunities for them, with the plotters and the training the detail guy and the manufacturers that are involved with all this process, you're gonna have to deal with it. But if you think about it, they're just preloading the cars with usually a lower grade of film. It's just a matter of time that we'll see the car eventually, and we might be able to upsell them to a better film. Or are you losing a job at a dealership? I'm not saying to Daniel specifically, but a lot of people might be more sensitive to it if they lose their job at a dealership because of that program. But as far as the ceramic guy or the carbon guy in town trying to cater to the people on the street, and looking for the value shoppers, he probably doesn't even care. I mean, honestly. So I guess it depends on who you ask, and what level of encroachment that has on their business as to what they'll think about it.
Sure.
So that's just my general comment.
I think, like you said, it depends if you're losing the job, because if your manufacturer is coming in and kicking you out of the dealer and replacing it with a plotter and training somebody that works in the shop, then yeah, that's rough. But if you're upset that dealers are tinting cars, that's like free market. That's just how the world turns. Like there's no way there's no reason to even engage in that, because it could happen anywhere. It could happen at the port. It doesn't even have to happen. It could happen from the manufacturer before it leaves before it enters.
Yeah. What about the factory privacy glass? I mean, you can't stop that.
Yeah. So let's see. So I reached the bottom of the comments. I think I'm finally caught up. But we have, there's still comments coming in. If anybody has any questions, we're approaching 3 hours. I don't want to, I've set aside 24 hours to do this, but I don't know about yourself, so I don't want to keep you all night. But you did have a question in regards to, is Flexfilm available? Do you have any distributors in Australia? I assume the answer is no, right? If it's not in Canada, I doubt it made it to Australia.
No, I have no. We only have one distribution point in between Alabama and Georgia. It has an Alabama address, but we're kind of right on the line. We're in a good place for the South, but it'd be surprising how many actual customers we have, and especially customers all the way in California. It's amazing. We do ship in all 50 states, and we have a pretty strong business and a pretty solid customer base, but we have a very micro niche customer base. We're not appealing to the majority of what's out there, which is dyed film. Dyed film is, it rules. If you ever go to, just do this. If you ever want to go to a big Facebook group and you want to say, hey, what film do you guys use? Well, the dyed film's going to win. Whoever sells the most dyed film gets the number one every time in that group. That's it. Whoever sells the most $1,200 rolls of film, probably gets the lowest one. So that's the way it works.
Well, that makes sense. Marissa asked, what are your hobbies outside of work? What do you do when you're not flex filming?
Man, I live in the country, and we have a lot of acres of land, and I've got 4 children, and I usually occupy myself with my children and my family. My son, my youngest son shows lambs, and I got another son that wrestles, and so I'm kind of mixing it up with some livestock, and then maybe at a wrestling mat 1 minute. We've got 4-wheelers, motorcycles, ride that. Got some fishing going on, and when I was younger, I used to ride unicycles, and I used to. Now I've substituted that with these bicycle, the recumbent trikes. Some of them have some little electric motors on them and stuff, and we go riding the green belt trails and stuff like that. Try to be healthy. Yeah, I don't do it in the dead of summer, and I try not to do it when it's too cold. But just pretty much family stuff. We're always on the roll. We're rolling somewhere with the family. Doing things with the family. That's kind of what I do now. If you asked me that question when I was in my 20s, I'd have to give you a totally different answer.
Marissa wants a video of you unicycling, if you have one, or if you could take one. I think she already.
I got one.
That already got liked.
You can go to YouTube right now, and you can type in Window Film Technologies. You will see a video of me sitting in a chair. Click on it. You'll see me riding a 10-foot unicycle. You'll see me riding an 8-foot unicycle, a 6-foot unicycle, and a small one. And there's no camera tricks. And there you go. Window Film Technologies. Window Film Technologies. YouTube it. It's there, man. It's a real deal.
So maybe this will be the note we end off on, but Jeff Rutherford and Daniel Puentes wanted to know if you go to goat auctions and lamb shows.
I don't go to goat auctions.
Is that an inside joke, or I don't know?
No. I go to lamb shows during the lamb season, and I watch the shows. My son shows them. So
oh really?
Yeah, he shows them. And but prior to that, I knew nothing about lambs. I didn't even know what a lamb was. A lamb is a sheep that's younger than a year, and after a year, they call it a sheep. So I didn't even know that.
I don't think I knew that either. We have Marissa.
I'm there to support. I don't show them. I just support them.
They're cute. That's I would be there to pet them if I had the opportunity. Marissa wanted to know, if you have time, how you and Rick met, rather.
Rick, it's hard to start on this day at this time we met. It's not like that. I began to notice Rick's presence.
Okay.
I'm from Georgia. Rick is in Georgia, and I tint windows. And
did you become aware of him online at first?
No, I became aware of him in the local area. He had maybe worked he was working at a tent shop, that I had helped the gentleman out before. And sold him some film and things of that nature. And I think the guy that owned the tent shop was telling me, you need to meet this guy Rick. And I'm like, what's up with him? Is he a pretty good tenor? Yeah, he's a good tenor. But what you'll like about him is he sounds like you, man. Like, this dude knows a lot of stuff. He's not just putting it on. He knows where it's made and how it's made. He knows about ceramic. He was in that ceramic part. He had some early stories about ceramic that kind of like mine. And I was intrigued by this guy. I'm like, I gotta talk to him. I don't meet people like him very often. So, but there was a lot of strife probably between us, because I think a lot of the tenors were telling Rick, you better watch that Ralph. He's not a very honest person. He's a liar, or he's slick. I think he's using fake glass in this heat box. He's trying to tell everybody that his film's better than everybody's, and he's taunting the Lumar guys. He's just a BSer. Just so Rick didn't really like me. He went into me sideways when we finally met, because he'd been told so many stories about me being dishonest. I'm going to stab him in the back. You'd have to let Rick explain all that side to you. But, Rick wasn't really very friendly to me. He wasn't mean to me, but he wasn't going to open up, and, he wasn't going to really be very nice to me. He was just going to be superficial, and we just had some chat. But I'll tell you what, Rick, I looked at Rick for the value that he brought to the table, and I thought, this guy's pretty smart, and we have a lot in common. And I think just over time, we just started talking to each other more and more, and I mean, two people come together, and they have similar likes and interests, and we began to like uplift each other. Like, if I can show you what'll help you make more money. And he says, well, hey, let me show you what I learned about this ceramic. You don't know a lot about this brand. And so, oh yeah, well, tell me about that brand. I mean, it was just we never quit talking. And like, we talked more than two teenage girls, a strange relationship, like as far as what we have in common, and, what we share, and the ideas that we have. And, here we are, we got the largest window film group in Facebook. Rick engineered some of the government side of it, having to set up the core group. And I mean, we just both got ejected. I used to be in all these Facebook groups. I've never broken a rule that I know about. Nobody's ever told me, but in the night I get kicked out. I get kicked out probably because these groups begin to evolve. They're like churches, and people that are in the groups are like-minded. And if you're not quite like-minded with them, or you're sort of on the opposite side of, you just get kicked out. And so Rick and I both shared the frustrations about being kicked out, and our bond grew together, because we were both like, we felt betrayed by the industry and the groups. And, I can just keep going. I'm going to quit elaborate on that. Where we are now, we got a pretty big voice in the industry. We've got a foothold on some of these groups, and we're with other people that are like-minded, people that are wanting to share information, that are uplifting. And, Rick's a part of that as well. And that's why we do so well together. I mean, that's how we met. That's where we are.
Right. Well,
Rick doesn't even use my film, man. People are so confused about that, and it all started because Eddie Martinez, a dear friend of mine in the same town, Carrollton, because he was tinting windows in Carrollton as well. And, Eddie, my friend, had been there longer than Rick, and Rick came in, and I had a conflict, just like Eddie wanted to, continue using my film, and Rick Rick would have used it also, probably. He's a pretty nice guy. I mean, but I was like, I can't sell to both of y'all because I've got a political problem. You know what I'm saying? So Rick was very professional, and went a different direction. And he made a great film choice. He's got a great product. He's happy with it. And I don't base my friendship on Rick because of what film that he uses. That has nothing to do with it. I support him with whatever he wants to do. And Rick's a big boy. He's going to make his own decision. He's going to make film choices based on what meets his needs, and who meets his needs. So I support Rick. If these people are helping him, my friend, and it's benefiting him, it's benefiting his family, then I'm down with it, you know. And and that's what matters, because it's all about Rick and his family, and that's what's first, you know, for me, you know. So
there's room for everybody, for real.
yes, sir.
George wanted to say, George, you know, George L. Chingon for the delicious jerky.
George Navarez, everybody knows George.
He wanted to mention that he's making cookies tomorrow. I want to get in on that, because the jerky was incredible. So I ordered 5 pounds of jerky from him, just because he made a post. He's like, somebody backed out of their order. If anybody wants it, I messaged him. I got it. Yeah. 1 week, like maybe it was probably the jerky arrived like 2 days later. 2 days after that, I was out of 5 pounds of jerky, and I was ordering another 5 pounds of jerky, and then I ordered some for friends. Like, it is the best jerky I've ever.
There must have been a hole in the bag or something. I'm not sure what happened.
The best jerky I've ever had, and I'm not really one to buy jerky because it's always too old or too this or tastes weird or has crazy preservatives in it and so on. So you want jerky, you don't want jerky, get some jerky, because that stuff's good. Go ahead.
You know, I owe George got me off my crack addiction with those cookies. True story.
Really?
Just kidding.
No, but we're about to go another couple hours, and that explains the last 3 hours. I'm just
no, man, those cookies are good, man. That was probably a bad joke, but those cookies are that good.
There's no bad.
The jerky's good, man, but don't forget about the cookies.
Oh, the cookies. So Jeff brought up maybe we could bring on Dean Mitchell next week. Dean, I'd love to have you on. Yeah, I'll be in touch. And Jeff, thanks for the suggestion. Anytime anybody wants to see anybody on here, the way you can do that is ask them or ask me or tag them or anything. It's as simple as that. There's no limits to who can be on here. The goal of the show is if the window film industry can get value from watching, that's all that matters. And that can come in the form of entertainment, education, whatever it is. We're down. So, what do you say? We're a couple minutes shy of 3 hours. Should this be where we end it?
I would sort of put that on the audience, you know, because we also want to be mindful of, you know, we're probably kind of getting tired, you know, it's a lot of concentration. Got to be mindful of my data here. I'm in a rural area. I'm not like straight hooked into the internet, so I'm not sure how much data I had left on this particular outlet that I'm using. Also, you know, we have to be mindful of people on the West Coast, because where I am, it's about to be 10 o'clock, which is fine. I'm cool. But, you know, that's not the case where you are. It's like, what, 7?
7 p.m. It's an early 7.
And that's a premium time right now. If there's anybody, how many people are on right now? Like,
So we have about 42 people watching live right now.
It's pretty strong. Yeah. It's just, you know, I guess 3 hours is pretty long.
Marissa's exhausted. Robbie's going to sleep. So, you know, It's 11 by you. Let's look, any questions, or it's 10 by you, right? About to be 10?
10. Yeah,
so
it's 10.
Any questions? If we missed your questions in the comments, it wasn't intentional. Sometimes they go by. Any questions that we might have missed, any questions that you think up after, leave a comment in this video and I will either respond, or if it's directed to Ralph, he'll respond, and, you know, we'll go from there. So.
But again, I want to thank everybody. I've been very, I get so involved with helping people. You can go to my YouTube channel. You can look back on this live, that some of my closest friends remind me, Ralph, dude, you sell window film. Why don't you try to sell your window film? And you know what? I'm going to make myself try to sell it, because I don't want to be a sales guy. I really, really want to help people. But, you know, I want to just say the last little thing about our product, and before we go, you know, because we have the best film in the industry. I challenge anybody to try it, you know, and I got a simple reason why I say that. We got the highest grade of polyester that you can find in the industry. What makes our polyester stand slightly apart from the top shelf films is our bonding primer. We got the same product they've got, but we got a bonding primer. It allows our glue to stick to the mounting glue to stick to the polyester better, and therefore when you take it off, if you ever need to, it doesn't leave any glue. A lot of window tinters really, really like that. We also have carbon instead of dye. You can fight with a bigger sword with carbon, and all the problems that carbon's had in the past, we're done with it. We have the low angle haze is over. The color's on point. You get that little blacker look that you need to hit that factory match about every time. Carbon gives you so much more leverage, than you've ever had. And then, of course, the fact that we've got a completely different glue system. We don't have that old rubbery, hard to shrink, sticky kind of film anymore. This film is the equal to some of the best shrinking films you've ever put your hands on, because we now have that urethane, high molecular weight acrylic combination that keeps that film on that glass between 8 and 10 years typically, that everybody's trying to, say they've never seen fail. We got it too now, okay? And it's made by a manufacturer that brings in over $100 billion a year. They've got about a $500 million facility here in Georgia. They've got some overseas. They're a worldwide company. They're on the global 500 companies, okay? And some of the film manufacturers or the largest names also use that company to make their film. So, we're small. We're not trying to say we're bigger and better in that sense, but we go to the same source that some of the big boys are using and put in their fancy boxes and charge you more money. But anyway, we've got carbon that's, and we've got the carbon ceramic. That's what we specialize in. And, if you want to buy dye and you want to buy that dyed film that everybody likes with that Gen 4 deep dye technology that everybody talks about, we sell the same product. I'll leave it at that. So
cool.
I'm gonna just kind of chill out on. I never feel totally comfortable trying to sell, but that is, my family does rely on me to sell. And I'm coming out of my shell because I've never been in this position before. With this product, okay, I've always had a great performing product. I've never had the best, user-friendly product, and that's kind of kept me a little reserved. But there's nothing to keep me reserved anymore, man. I got both now. I could come out swinging, and if you haven't tried it in the last month, you're missing out, man. And if you want to get a coupon code from me, you can call us. You can text me 770-401-5555. You can respond, when we put this in the Revolution group or any other place we put this video, and ask me, and I'll give it to you. Probably $50 off. No problem. We'll do something. Or if you got any better ideas, I'll listen, because I own the company. I can do whatever I want. So talk to me.
Ralph, thank you so incredibly much for doing this. Really, thank you for doing this 3 hours. Thank you to everybody who's watching. I don't know what this would be without everybody who watches, comments, asks the questions. I know what it would be. It would be nothing. So thank you guys for watching every week. And we'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place, with Austin Cook from the Tinstitute. So hopefully we'll see everybody then. And Ralph, I just want to give you a huge last thank you. Thank you for coming on here.
Man, I want to say the same thing to you. I'm blown away by you, man. I thought I'm treating you like Rick treated me in the beginning, when he thought I was, he was pre-framed to think I was gonna, be a bad person, but you were never pre-framed to me to be a bad person, okay? But I didn't know you, and I thought, man, I've seen this guy. Where'd he come from? He can't be much. I was wrong. Okay, this guy's phenomenal. This guy will blow you guys away. I can't say I've known him for 20 years, but listen, when you talk to somebody as long as I have, even though it's been short, and you can tell this guy right here is very interesting, very interesting. You got your Facebook game down, by the way. You do, because we see your ads everywhere. You must be good at graphics. You got this software. People need to look into you, man. I'm looking into you, and I'm like surprised every step of the way. So cool. I can't wait for our relationship to take off, buddy. I really think there's something there. I'm excited.
I appreciate you saying that, Ralph. I really do.
Yeah.
And just a note on the graphics. You said your graphics game on point. A lot of the graphics we do, most of the graphics that you see on TintWiz are from Carrie from Iron Duck Design. She is in the tint industry, and part of our goal and the reason like we did things with Tri-Edge and we work with Carrie and so on is because, part of the goal with expanding TintWiz and growing it is involving people who are already in the window film industry and seeing how we can work together, not compete, but work together. Because so if there's somebody who does graphic design in the window film industry, I think it's silly to go outside the industry when we have somebody right there. So she's somebody, if you're looking for graphic design for your company, for, any window film businesses, she's somebody that is a pleasure to work with. So I just want to give her that shout out since you mentioned graphics.
Good deal, man.
All right.
Thanks, everybody. I thank you for your time listening. Hope you hung in there. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. If you did, you did. Good.
Yep, we cracked the 3-hour mark. We have about 35 left. So
Yeah.
thank you
Okay.
to everybody, and we'll call this quit. We'll see you on the next one.